in a box anymore.
Really?
Wow.
Everybody ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Museum quality.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Before we dive
We're
into
good?
heaven, when I
Yes, we're
get
ready.
back.
All right, we're gonna call the Central Board of Architecture Review, October 11th, 2024 meeting to order. Do we have any member of the public that wishes to address the board regarding an item that is not on today's agenda? We have people here, but it's just a design team.
We do not have any public comment.
Agenda status report,
No changes to the agenda.
okay. Minutes of September 13th, 2024 will be considered. Anybody have any comments? I have no comments and would move to approve.
I abstain, wasn't here.
Okay.
No comment.
No comment.
Can I have a second? Thank you,
Second.
Denise. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Abstain.
we have two abstentions.
Okay.
Okay, informational briefings. I don't think I have any, anybody else?
Our
have-
site visit. We have to,
No, that's already on the agenda,
got it.
separate item.
No,
Any-
the previous one,
Um,
the one just you and I went.
yeah, we went and saw one of the, there were two items that we, on last month's agenda that we talked about having storage poles for. This was one of them. The other one was a residence. Andrew and I went out and looked, and they have yet to determine what direction they want to go as far as storage poles. Well, more to follow, is I guess what it is. Any recusals?
Number 5 here.
Number 5, Denise. Anybody else? I don't have anything. Okay, staff update. Nicole, you're on.
Good morning. I do not have any updates for today. Thank you.
We couldn't hear you, Nicole.
Can you hear me now?
I can't hear you either.
Not at all.
Can now. Thank you. It was a technical issue on our end.
Okay. I don't have updates today. I've updated you on most of the all of the upcoming projects in the area for the Planning Commission, so I don't have an update for today.
Okay, thank you. Item number 1, 24 bar 55, Grupo Tahanin Winery Edition site visit. We completed that site visit. That was 8:15 this morning, and all the board members who are here now were there, except for Puck, who is joining us remotely, so she wasn't there. Standard agenda, the same item, number 2 is 24 bar 55 Grupo Tahanin Winery Edition. I think it's up on the screen there. I'll read the comments from last time, and then if we have somebody from the design team, there are many of you, so I don't know how you want to do that. Let's go ahead and step up. We do have a long meeting today, so you don't have to cut yourself off, but if you can be succinct, that would be appreciated. Okay, we appreciate the work that has gone into responding to CBAR's prior comments as far as architectural design and landscaping. Provide storage poles and stakes as follows: storage pole production wing corners and peak, 6 poles. Storage pole office area, main tasting room. The 2 gables will have 3 storage poles each, gables and peak. Stake all other corners of the building and trellis for reference on site. And just for information, it sounded like they accomplished that when we were on site. So come on up and walk us through everything again, please.
Everyone, my name is Joe Plum, I'm architect in the R&M Design
Can
Group.
you talk louder?
Okay, sure.
This is the microphone way
Oh, got
over
it.
here.
Okay.
So, and it's directionally sensitive. If you don't speak the way I'm speaking, it don't pick it up.
Got it. Okay. Well, hello. Nice to see you all again. My name is Julie Wall. I'm an architect with the RM Design Group. Good to see you all again this morning and at the site visit. I think we're really just gonna jump straight to, I mean, I'm assuming everyone is still familiar with the project. We're not gonna walk through the whole thing again. We kind of want to jump through to the elevations
Okay?
and
You wanna talk about any of the story pole? I've got several story pole pictures here, if there's anything you wanna talk about, or we can go right to, I think the elevations are in here.
We did talk about the story poles out on site, if there's anything that needs to be clarified, or if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, so, this elevation, or do you want me to go further?
These are the elevations.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically, as you can see here, our north elevation, south elevation, east and west, the north elevation has the entry, towers to the left, production area to the right. And the only thing that, really we wanted to let you know was that we have been looking closer at materials. Our owners have gone to one of the local stone yards here in town and, have selected a stone pattern. So that stone pattern is actually shown on our materials board there, if you can see B. That is, a local Santa Barbara stone and a, sort of a cut surface boulder pattern. So you can see it there. And then the other thing, as far as the materials go, we have the standing seam metal roof, the horizontal weathered wood siding. The wainscot is a beige, sort of sand colored concrete, and it will have a bit of an aggregate finish to it, so it will have some nice texture to it, so it's not completely smooth. Our doors and windows are steel windows that are dark bronze to a black color. We're still looking through that with the grid pattern, the grid. And then all of our metal awnings will also have colors to match the doors and the windows, and then the gutters as well. And then the only other thing that we have been looking at as well is over in the production side, to the right over there, we have been looking at some material adjustments to make it more washdown friendly, because that is a production area and it will get a lot of abuse and a lot of use and that type of thing. So those materials from the front and the rear elevation, everything still remains looking the same, but on the side there, in between the trellis area, under the trellis area, it will be more, there will be, we removed the stone and have mainly the concrete being the wainscot part under there, just because it will be more washdown friendly and,
Where is that end elevation?
You go page 8
right
in the
there.
PDF. So
Right here. Okay.
Yes.
How are you, I know it's not shown, it's kind of disappearing behind that trellis element. How are you combining it? How are those two materials meeting up?
There's gonna be a transition point, either it'll be a vertical metal element to like a pilaster to be similar to the trellis piece, sort of stepping in, or it will be a concrete pilaster. One of the two through there, we're still kind of exploring that.
That's gonna be pretty critical. We're gonna wanna see how that works. Because one of our findings, very specific findings, is that relates to all four sides of the building, obviously. And the point being, we don't want people to, just, not that you're doing this, but in the past, the reason that was set up that way is because you would see the front of a building and they'd have all this beautiful stonework and all this kind of stuff, and it'd wrap around 18 inches, and then it'd be stucco all the way around for everything else with no
Right,
sills
right.
and nothing fancy, right? So that transition is something that we're gonna be interested in.
Right.
So
and
we've limited that area just to really the washdown. It's for
Yeah.
practical
I
purposes.
understand,
Right, is that a detail that you would be open to reviewing at final? Is it's, to really nail it down, we need to get into the construction of that wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. well, that's something we can talk about, but it's just so you're aware, as you move
Absolutely.
forward, that
We agree, it's critical.
and how you manage that transition so that it looks logical and isn't just,
Right.
you know, a piece of
Just
metal
all stop.
separated. right?
And that's where I think that on the rear elevation, it's concrete at that plane anyway, so it's just a standard, it's the transition that we had previously. And in the front, like I said, I think if we pull the metal that we have on the trellis, then it'll look like a continuous element.
Right.
And the transition just happens between everything, the metal will protrude and
So,
project from that surface.
Here, at this point on the south elevation where it's wrapping, this is already started, you've
Right.
already got your transition.
Right, yeah, that's all the same, everything's the same. Anything else? Oh, and on the terrace. So, yeah, and also and also just so you know, we've actually increased some of the stone, that rear terrace, which was previously the concrete material, we are actually changing the plinth to stone. So that rear, we go to the rear elevation.
Next page.
Sorry, one back, this one.
There you go.
Yeah, so
So
you,
this,
yes,
okay,
Julie, could you go back up again? I'm sorry, to that, yeah. On the right, I guess I missed the description of the material, the wall with sort of the diag pattern on it.
that's in the distance.
Okay,
That is part of the, you can see.
it's the backside of
Yeah,
this wall
it's the
here, which
backside.
is in this plane.
That diagonals the shadow from.
That's
the,
just a shadow
trellis.
line.
okay,
Right.
oh, I got
Yeah.
it,
We're
okay.
not being
Yeah.
diagonals.
That is just basically the other side of
No,
that.
really?
That piece.
Yeah, so this wall is actually
It's
linear
showing-
with the rear wall.
Okay, and that's the shadow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's from this, that's from those
Exactly.
trellis.
Okay. Okay, so. This will work. This is the elevation here. This conceptual, ring, the wine tasting area. This is the wine tasting area, I'm assuming.
correct, yes.
That is the portion of the structure that is skylining from the road.
And that's the rear elevation, you don't, that's the part that extends out of the back of the, oh, from the other road, you're talking about from,
from the south.
okay,
And once you turn off on the Zaka, you get down a little ways and you will see it skylines for a little while, actually. And what you see is, something, and I mentioned this to Brett, he saw it too. But you see this section and then you see, let's see, which section do you see there? You see it, you see the peak, and then you see a little bit of the roof as it goes away. You should take a look at the story poles when you're out there. This is not our finding. It is, however, one that the planner has to make. And so, we would strongly suggest you look at that and try and either lower or somehow alter that so that it doesn't stick up into the skyline.
Absolutely, we can certainly study that. I would question, this is all lower than the previously approved entitled set.
Yep. We're not perfect. We didn't see it. But it's clear, you can see it clearly out on site today. And so, the story poles show that peak and just a little bit of the roof. It's a small portion, but do talk to Brett, and I'm sure he can give you some guidance as to how the county looks at it. And then talk to your planner too, before you make any moves. Talk to the planner and make
Okay.
sure that everybody, you're all on the same page. Because like I said, it's not our finding, but it is something that the planner will probably be aware of now that we've all had the story poles out there.
Okay.
And it's this end,
I'm sorry, which one?
it's this end of the building. The rest of the building doesn't. You don't see any of this, or I did not see any of this when I was out there, but just so you're aware, this, it skylines, just like it does here. The hills, everywhere else, as I was driving along, even from, 154 and 101, I wasn't aware of anything where, I mean, because the hills were behind it, so it was just fine.
Is that a condition of approval?
It is a visual sim, it's a visual, finding.
Is there a particular reg in the zoning that we can look at?
Yes, it says it shall not protrude into the skyline.
Okay.
And it's a finding that, like I said, Brett,
Even if by right side, it's still, you try to avoid seeing just through the site.
like I said, it's not my finding to make. You need to talk to Brett and your planner at the county.
Got it,
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Could you point out what you're talking about? I'm sorry. What,
This skylines, this ridge.
okay.
Bethany, would it help if I gave some context?
Yes, please do, Nicole. Thank you.
So, the way we tend to apply that policy has to do with what the skyline is, where the building's placed. So if you're looking at a building from a lower area up on a hillside and the skyline was mountains and now the skyline is the ridge of a building, that's one way that policy could be violated. Another way it could be violated is if the existing background of a view is a mountainside and the ridge extends from a public viewing place up above that mountainside, in the rear view. And then when facing the ocean, it would be if from a public viewing place, the ridge line extends beyond the horizon line of the ocean beyond. So it's kind of like there would be a plane that's being breached from the public view. That's what would cause a violation of that policy.
Does that make any more sense?
Okay, yeah, I think so, but if there are no mountains behind the building from that vantage point, is it simply that the ridge appears above the trees and you can see it above the tree line of the street? Because that's sort of where you see it, is rising above those oaks near Zoc Station, right?
The Oaks along Zoc Station, there's several places where you can see the thing, and you can see sky where the roof is,
Okay,
shooting into the sky.
got it, okay.
Shooting's not really clear, it's pointing into it.
So in this case, the view to the sky is the issue, not some mountain or something that she mentioned at the beach. It's a,
Well, it's the mountains, because there's, at that point, that portion of the building doesn't have a mountain immediately behind it.
right.
And because that mountain is not there, now it hooks up
Right.
into the skyline.
Technically, is elevation. Or what is elevation?
Page 8.
No, other way, sorry. This one, yeah, it's right here.
East, that's the south. East.
The east elevation is going down there.
This one,
There you go.
Yeah, there it
it's
is.
this here.
So,
So there's a portion of this.
Mhm.
okay.
So, sorry, not having been to the site visit myself, or having extensive site photos, it's hard for me to say. But if it's not extending beyond a mountainside and it beyond, it may not be violating that policy. But I think the best recourse would be to talk to the assign planner.
Yeah, and the planner should take a look at the story poles, Nicole.
Yes, yes, and they will, yes, thank you.
Yeah, I know they will. It's this section here. That's coming toward the viewer. Do you have a grading plan? Did you submit a grading plan?
It's part of this package.
Okay,
The sheet number.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah.
was that it?
There you go.
Yeah, that's,
There you go.
there's the colored one too, right?
There's
Oh, the
sections.
color.
There's a cut fill.
So down,
Yeah, I got it.
that one.
There we go.
Yeah, the
Okay.
red shows all the area of cut, and the green is the area of fill. Reference.
What's your most egregious cut in this area?
It's about 6 feet roughly.
Mhm.
Part of
And,
that is we're right up against the creek setback.
Right.
It's the creek setback, yeah, so we can't grade out.
and you were saying on site that, if I understood correctly, that this corner of the building over here was approximately 5 or 6 feet of fill?
Yeah.
And then does that increase as you move through this parking access area?
Actually decreases because we're still getting away from the building and then eventually trying back in consistent grade.
Okay. All right, is there anything else you need to hit in your presentation before I call for public comment?
Sections.
You wanna do the section? Show me the sheet.
Yeah, the last page.
Site section.
Unless Brad, you wanna go over it.
Sure, yeah, we cut some of the sections through the site, just so you could get a visual of kind of what we were just discussing, the cut, the fill, and the balancing the site when we go. Kind of hard to see it scale. The top one is we need to go back to the last page, so you can see where these,
It's through
so
here.
the one previous.
Yep.
Where you can see the sections that are cut. So there's A right there through the production lay yard.
This is B. That we'll see in a minute. C has a bend to it, right?
That's right, yeah.
And then this is D cross section to the site. Okay,
Great reference there. So yeah, there on the top one, the production yard, like we were talking about, that's where you see the fill, about 5 feet of fill, and then eventually tying back into the existing grade. And section B is the patio terrace. The building is on the right side.
Right.
Right out there, and then just kind of sloping down towards existing grade.
is this the artificial berm that we saw there?
Yes, it is. You can see, yeah, right there is where it kind of slopes up a little bit. The existing grade slopes up.
And then this was your C that has the bend in it.
Yeah, that's looking up kind of from the entry or towards the north of the site, coming down to the site, to the parking lot, and the entrance.
Okay.
So kind of gradual slope there.
And then here's this is would be if the others were X, these are Y. This is 90 degrees to the others, right?
Yeah, that's right. And that one shows on the right-hand side there, is that the creek setback and the retaining wall that we would have there, max height of about 5 to 6 feet. You can see the cut, it's hard to see here, but that's where the 5 to 6 feet cut is on that side of
Right.
the building. So yeah, just general sections of the site, the grading codes be achieved to balance, create a balance, earth source approach.
Anything else you wanna? I kind of hijacked your presentation here, sorry.
It's okay.
I didn't want you to sit down before we had the discussion done, so,
No, that's fine. I think we presented everything there.
okay? All right, do we have any members of the public who wish to comment on this item?
We do not have any public comment.
Okay, board. Chris, you wanna start?
Sure. I guess my first impression was, wow, I thought the story poles told us a lot on just the scale and scope of the entire building. Understanding the cut and fill might solve a few problems if the planner would allow them to put the building down at least 6 feet further. So I guess that would be my number one point. And the other point is I do appreciate more stone and less cement in terms of the wainscoting.
Who's next? Puck, you wanna jump in here, or you want somebody else to go first? Second.
I'll jump in. I'm sorry I couldn't make the site meeting, but I am really familiar with this site, and I think you know, it's a big building, and the ridge line is pretty long. Although I think when you're standing there, the various gable details will help break that up. But I was just curious. I think everybody will cover everything in the building, and I won't go into the skylining issue. But the retaining wall, is that? Can you bring up the landscape plan?
Landscape and
Yeah, it's just beyond where the straight lines are. There it is.
So can you show where that retaining wall is in terms of the landscape context?
Laser pointer. So the retaining wall is along this edge here. As Brett mentioned, we had to have that 100-foot offset from the creek.
Right.
So it retains that soil.
so it looks like, if I'm referring correctly, down here at the little purple, that's the start. And then it comes all the way down here. And is the termination roughly here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, zeros out there. So it's max up by the purple area you were talking about, max 5 to 6 feet up there, and then as you come to the south along the building, it reduces in height all the way to 0.
Okay, because your section that went right through here actually had it at a pretty substantial height.
More like the 6 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, well, by the purple area on the north side, it's the highest.
So what is its height down here?
Towards the building that you're talking about? I'm not
No,
sure.
I'm talking about up north here, where it says stone retaining
Oh,
wall.
up there, yeah, that's the max height, about 6 feet, 6.5 feet.
Okay, because your section. Here.
Yeah.
That was the one you were referring to as having a height about 6 feet.
Well, I don't know exactly where that one was cut, but yeah, I was just saying that the wall along that side is max 6 feet. I don't know if right at
Okay,
that specific location is 6 feet. I was just giving you a max height of that wall on there.
well, because, well, I know one typically exaggerates vertical elevations.
Right.
I mean, it's not the same as the horizontal, I get that. But, this is showing like a 2-to-1 slope or 1-to-1 slope. And, well, here, this is a good representation of where the wall is, but you've got a pathway like right there. So I'm I'm having trouble reconciling the different views, the section, the landscape, and then the architectural elevations, which actually don't show the wall at all. Unless I missed it, and I could have missed it.
The architectural elevations are taken in front, you'd miss a lot of the building if we cut through.
Yeah, hold on just a second here. This is the correct one, yeah, here. It seems like the wall is like right here or just off where you're taking your section.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and adjacent to the building, as I was saying, it's less and less, so adjacent to the building, it's likely only 4 feet, and then transitioning down to 0.
Okay. All right, Buck, did that answer your question?
Yes, I think so. And just, I mean, it's a minor detail at this level, but just how the path and the wall and all that kind of works out. But, I was just curious about the wall and that it is, going to be clad in stone to match the building.
Yeah.
Okay.
That wasn't affirmative.
That was my only comment since I wasn't at the site visit, but
Okay.
I think the ridge is long, but I don't think it will be a major issue.
Okay. Denise or Andrew, who wants to go first?
I don't have any comments.
You don't have any comments? All right, Andrew?
Where should I start? I think that, well, I have a question for the planner. That's all right. Can I see them?
Yeah, he's online.
Did that 11 development plan permit, did that have, was the skylining element we're talking about, was that included in that development plan?
I did look into the original MND for that project, and it does describe under the aesthetic section that the project is not going to skyline. So that's with the MND, we conditioned it to come back to CVAR for, to verify that basically. So yeah, I'll go out and do a site visit. I was actually going to ask just for clarification. I'm sure it'll be obvious, but from what viewpoint does that skyline is it? So I'm assuming it's off Zaka. But maybe at the end you guys can show me kind of from what viewpoint it skylines.
But the answer is yes, that the original development plan included some element like the one we're seeing today.
Yeah, it indicated that the project as approved would not skyline. So, at that point, I don't believe we did any story polls or anything to verify that. We were kind of just going based off plans and the rolling hills.
Got it. Okay, with that in mind, I won't get on too much of a soapbox about story polls, but I will for 30 seconds. When you go out on a site and you see a pole that's 40 feet tall, it's gonna look big to anybody. When you see context of everything, it helps. And it's important to realize that when you're out on a site like that and you see a 40-foot pole next to a 10-inch stake, that's not the contrast you're actually going to be feeling. You're going to be feeling more of a 34-foot ridge line next to a 28-foot tall eave line. So, there's competing factors between seeing more context and doing all the story polls and seeing less context and just seeing the tallest parts of the building. Anyway, I feel like we have generally been supportive of this project so far. I think the design group has been accommodating of our requests. And that's the basic gist of how I feel about this project and where it's at right now. A couple of minor things. I appreciate that the sort of unhealthy parts of the eclecticism that was in earlier designs has been reduced. The fireplace turning from core 10 to match the other elements of the metal elements of the building, I think is a helpful move. You know, there's still some eclecticism there in the concrete dormers and things like that, which is fine. I think I'd prefer to see the building lean into one way or another with certain choices like that, or with the wainscoting like was brought up earlier. I think the cut and fill generally is a healthy cut fill diagram. I would like to see, for what it's worth, in the southwest corner of that little plinth that's created from the bus turnaround. Seems like there's a chance to do a little bit more naturalistic grading over there, instead of having a 3-to-1 slope that just kind of sits up on a platform for whatever it's worth. But that's just spoken as a architect that's the son of a civil engineer, so no offense there. And yeah, I'd appreciate seeing a little more information about what exactly that stone is, if it's sandstone or something else.
We got it from the salt yard. It's that standard mix they have down there in the salt and we have some.
We have
representatives.
You do, okay. Great. But yeah, that's my gist. I think we should let the conditions of the project thus far kind of inform our process a little bit more than whatever emotional feeling we have out of seeing a 40-foot pool. Yeah.
Joel? Anything to add?
Yeah, was there any discussion previously, when I wasn't here, was there any discussion about the roof and possible glare from the roof?
Yeah, we talked about, the standing seam metal. Could you speak to the, finish and the material of the roof for Al, since he wasn't here last time? Because we did talk about reflectivity of the roof.
Right, and it is a matte finish, kind of, it is a cool roof.
Louder, please.
Oh, sorry, it is, it's a matte finish and a dark bronze, with a kynar finish, kynar finish, for energy conservation. As far as reflectivity, the darker color, I think, helps with that.
I had an exact same roof on a neighbor's house. It doesn't.
It doesn't, huh?
No.
The dirt on it?
But I mean, the only thing that helps is that, they spent a lot of money to put that rust surface on. That's the only thing that,
Patina.
yeah. That was the big lawsuit that somebody did up there. Okay, thank you. Wasn't me.
Welcome to the valley.
Exactly.
Lowell?
Just a clarification, please, on this stone. So in your, your number 2, I think that's number 2, that where you show the stone sample, is that rubble stone, or, and on the building, it looks like cut stone, so I'm just curious, which way?
It's the boulder edge version of what they sell, where it does have a little articulation from the edge of the sandstone boulder. It's not the straighter cuts from the middle of the rock. They have 2 versions of it there at that.
Or is it stacked stone, or is it the
No, it's
rubble?
more of a natural assembly. It looks more like mission stone where it's placed deliberately. And then they do a little bit of hand feeling in place to kind of trim it all to the depth, but it's the boulder edge version is what we picked.
So I think what Lowell's picking up on is this area here, for example, has an ashlar and a crochet or attached look to it. And yet this is the picture you're showing us. And I think what he's saying is pick one. So make the elevation look like what you're doing here, because there seems to be a discontinuity.
Yeah, the goal last time was for local. We looked at local. This is what they sell right here in this neighborhood. We prefer to get it close by.
Gotcha.
And we're not that particular about pattern as long as
Yeah.
it's local. We don't want a lot of carbon waste carbon from Texas and stuff. So
Okay.
we're trying to.
So the board comment would be, we prefer this, we like this, or we like this, and please update your renders to reflect that. Okay.
Bethany, when you say this,
B, the stone sourced from local stone yard shown on the materials page A12.
thank you.
Has a much more random look to it as opposed to what looks like a cut ashlar pattern on the render, on the elevation rendering.
Is that something that we could provide during final?
We'll get there.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so, I don't really have any comments. I would echo, much of what, has been said, especially regarding, am I going the right way? Yes, I am. This really stood out to me. Anywhere you have this very engineered looking unnatural slope. I know you're not exactly gonna have people traipsing around there, but you should really blend that in much better. I know you guys can do it. And this is just the most egregious, off of this, loading area, Nicole. But basically anywhere you have that kind of a thing. And then I would echo that as far as your section, where you're showing how that wall and the patio integrate and everything. Don't just whip it back up there to that wall. Actually show what you're planning and how you're gonna do that, because that path is really too close to have an engineered slope right next to it. It's just not gonna work, and you know that, so just go ahead and dot your i's and cross your t's. And I would suggest that if you can do so, if you're gonna be redoing these elevations anyway, it would be for contextual purposes, this should drop off, if that's what's happening. Over here on the south elevation, off of the production area, it's obviously not a straight line. So you should actively reflect what's going on in the elevations. And it would be really nice if you put that wall in here in the past. So we can see it. Yeah, Alan.
Yes, because I wasn't here last night, but the top drawing I'm looking at was the one they originally came in with.
The top drawing is from the approved, the previously entitled project from, I think, 2011, 2014, whatever it was, some years ago.
I gotta tell you, I like that one better than the one I have now.
Well, what the project we're looking at is the one in front of us.
I see it.
So, the other thing is really, obviously, when you return, you're gonna have those little areas where you've got, changes in materials and everything, right? We're gonna wanna see that detail and how that works. Or obviously you'll need windows and doors and all those standard details, but you're gonna need that. And see, you've already got, they do have it on this one.
Yeah.
They've kind of got that's a nice representation there on the end of it. I'm really looking forward to seeing, what happens with the skylining and, I don't know, Andrew didn't really address this, but, if that elevation got just that little chunk, if it was enough to drop it down just a little bit, just to do it, I think that, going back to the linearity of the structure, I think it could actually, help break that up a little bit and wouldn't be necessarily a bad thing, from my viewpoint. That said, they are here, materials board. When you return, this has been a nice, look at, you've got your materials here, you're going to need to actually create a physical board. Get with your planner, usually they suggest you do two.
But we may lay the stone out because they're very large, heavy pieces, so is that something we can bring in on a blanket or something?
You're gonna need to prepare a board. You can chip some of the pieces and just glue them down. That's fine. you know, some pieces, so you get your kind of your colors and that kind of thing. And you can add a picture, you can take it, you can lay out what you've got and add a picture to the board as well, so that you have a physical sample of it, however you wanna do it. But you're gonna need your materials board and with everything identified, just like here. And you probably want 2 of them, and what happens is it, after final, that's submitted to the county and physically stamped and returned to you. Usually the planner keeps the second one so that when the one they return to you goes missing, there's a backup. Okay, so, they are here for preliminary.
I'd make a motion
Yeah.
to,
Well, you can't vote, so I think you shouldn't be the one picking the motion, because we've got all 5 of us here.
May I make a motion?
Yes,
to
please
approve
do,
the
thank you.
preliminary?
Can I have a second?
Right here.
Denise seconded. Okay, any further discussion?
This is for.
Preliminary. Yeah. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Puck. All right. Thank you very much. We look forward to seeing it final with all that is entailed.
Thank you so much.
Go cooking.
There's a previous one. Well, no, there was a big gap in the spot.
Okay, so we're on item number 3, 22 bar 85. Morehouse, single family dwelling. I've got the wrong one.
I'd be surprised if I got it.
Thank
done. It's a big grading component first, so.
Yes, I do.
I feel so lonely in here now.
Do we have a representative for this one here today?
Hi, this is Devin Barnes from Gruen Associates on.
Could you say your name again?
Devin Barnes from Gruen Associates.
All right. So
All right.
the only comment we had last time was landscape plan shall include sizes, quantities, names of plants, scientific common, show the location of planting, seeding, notes regarding irrigation and well locale. Include erosion seeding in the plan. So I think we're probably good to go, right?
Yes, so if you scroll back, it starts on L501 with some hydrozone plans and then goes into the landscape plans.
Okay. Listing site views. This looks like architectural.
Yeah, sorry, they are at the back. At least it's moving a little faster today.
Okay, landscape plan.
That's just a site plan, so you can keep going to the back of it for the L sheets.
You got it. We only got a couple more here. All right, this is our. Oh, yeah, there's that one. Remember this.
All right, there we go. Okay, so where the newer items start, and I'm sorry, I would try to get my landscape designer on, and they are not available right now. So we added in this hydrozone plan that was requested.
Okay.
I don't know if it actually makes more sense to look at the planting before this, but the planting is on the next couple sheets.
That, I think you have a typo.
Where at?
Your estimated total water use and maximum allowed are exactly the same.
Oh. Hmm.
And they shouldn't be.
No.
But I think your maximum allowed I think this number probably represents the MAWA.
And you're expanding that so the rest of us can see it?
Sure.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that, gentleman.
And that was Alan who wanted me to zoom in so that the rest of them could see it.
Yeah.
We're looking at a screen on a wall that's some distance away and small. So here, Alan, at the bottom of the chart,
Okay.
they're exactly the same two numbers. And I'd expect that you can't get this 0.28 if these are the same. One of them has to be wrong.
Yeah, there's no way they're exactly, yes.
Yeah.
Is that something that Plan Check would also pick up?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
we have,
you need to check that out.
we have not submitted for Plan Check. Even though
Yeah.
you gave us the okay last time, we decided to just stay in the process of approval by CBAR first.
You're gonna have trouble because you have some large areas here that are spray.
Mm-hmm.
The ordinance is basically, just so you know, the ordinance is basically set up so that if the majority of your landscape is overhead spray, you have trouble making your totals work. These two numbers, there's something wrong here, and there's potentially something very wrong in here. So check it out.
Okay.
Because, but you need to make sure it all counts. I wrestle these all the time, so. But that's the only thing I see that's wrong, but you do have the hydro zone. And your high is your, the
Just
pool,
the
right?
pool, yeah.
The only one, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's what sends the numbers up, is that deal. Okay, so let's look at your planting plan. So
If you go back one is the name of the plants. So the plant schedule is just after the.
Okay, so there's 501.
Yep, right there to the left, plant schedule.
Okay.
Bethany, can you zoom in?
Yeah, just two shapes here. Here's your. I think, because you've got, these all say low or very low. Your WUCOL shouldn't have had any moderate.
Okay.
So just go back and make sure that this all jobs. I mean, so that fits. Okay, so that's your Wello. Lowell, are you still looking at?
Go ahead.
Okay. Just didn't want to, Puck, you saw it enough?
Yes.
Okay. So there's the actual planting plan.
Yeah, we break it down to get a better zoom in here.
Okay. Okay. And we asked for, and you've got the quantities and all that good stuff here.
Correct.
Is what we asked for.
I have a question for Devin.
Yes.
Quick question, yeah.
Yeah. Devin, it looks like you're grading, to the edge of the grading line. I guess the next sheet down, a couple sheets down, I guess that is L6. I don't understand this sporadic planting, even though you're disturbing all the way to that line, is that correct? What else are you doing in between the drifts of planting?
Leaving it natural.
But aren't you disturbing up to that line?
I'm sorry, to the 510.
This is what she's, I believe that what Denise is speaking about is there's a line here that shows where you're blending your grading back in.
Oh,
All of
and
this area.
reseeding that.
What's that?
Reseeding it, you mean, or filling it in? There's not meant to be, DG or anything between there. The idea is to leave much of this property natural.
Well, if you're disturbing the grade, you're disturbing.
I agree, yeah.
So
Mhm.
that's what the comment was referring to when it said that, you need to include erosion seeding from the plan.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, I know, that's what I was saying, reseeding.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know what, I think in civil, we did have something about, looking at my separate drawings on my screen. It might have just been erosion control.
That's fine, but those areas need to be included, this whole thing here, especially back here. I mean, look at what you're doing back on the upside. And erosion control seeding supposed to be required as part of Wello. It's included in the CAL.
Yeah, so if you go to the page 40 of the PDF, it's C4. We have a note to provide hydro seeding with an improved county mix.
I missed it somewhere.
C4, right there. The note 5.
You should spell out what you're gonna put in that mix.
Okay.
That's not difficult, so.
Okay, so it's not just a standard mix.
No, in fact, your landscape architect should supply that, and you should also include this area over here.
Okay.
Because it's not just where you have a big area, it's everywhere that's disturbed should be treated with that erosion control seeding.
Yep.
And then, your landscape architect may need to show that,
Same, yeah, okay, so, okay.
I would recommend too, that you take a look at that if you need jute netting or other material before you oversee.
Yeah, because that's what they're showing here, they're showing, rolls. And, jute netting is all this cross hatching,
Okay, good.
so.
I'm sorry, does that take care of your concern with the jute netting? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, thank you.
Yep. The erosion control plan takes care of that. So. Yeah. Any other questions? Does that conclude your presentation? Can I move?
Yes, that was it. Yep. I wish I
Right.
caught that number.
Do we have any, anybody who would like to comment on this project?
We do not have any public comment for this item.
Okay, board comments? They're here for final, or I think, what are they here for? Let me verify. Final, yeah, it was supposed to be final on consent. They're here for a final. Are these the outstanding issues with the Wello and everything else too much, or are we comfortable having the planner confirm it?
I say bounce it to the planner.
Bethany?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with I think that was Andrew.
It was Chris.
Getting the Wello calcs worked out is something that I think they'll have to do with the planner and the building department.
Yep.
And I would just sort of alert them that sometimes you do have to have a certain percentage of germination in your disturbed areas before you'll get final sign off. So I just like to see the disturbed areas really be treated as part of the landscape plan, not just a note on the civil.
Mhm.
But that's my only comment. I think it's ready for final.
Everybody's,
Sorry,
everybody's
this
okay?
is Nicole.
Yeah.
I just want the planners will not have the expertise to check WELO calculations. The building department reviews the WELO plans. So I
Yeah.
just want to caution that I don't think we can put a condition that the planner check the WELO calculations.
I guess what I was saying, what I meant to say to Cole is this will be caught in the building department. And I don't think the final analysis of WELO is necessarily in our purview.
No.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Okay. All right,
I'll make a motion.
okay, Nicole, I think the main comment for this is that the landscape plan should include it should provide the area to show what will be reseeded. And it should specify the mix, percentages and scientific and common names, for example. That should be on the landscape plan. And then the second comment is that the mix should also be shown on the erosion control plan, because those are done by different people. Okay?
Yeah, makes sense.
And those are the only, I think those are the only two conditions we have moving forward. There was a motion. Did I have a second?
Alan.
Well.
I'll second.
Puck seconded. Thank you, Puck. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So, moving right along. Number 4, 24 bar 110 Firestone Garage.
Bethany, I
Yeah,
have to recuse myself on this one.
okay, so, you wanna just
Then I do too.
shut her down?
I thought it was-
So that she's not.
I thought you were 5. Are you
I
4
think
and
it's-
5?
Jeepers, don't do that then. Lord, I have a
Firestone
vote.
Garage. We all have-
Denise,
Okay, so the numbers, when you looked on box, this had a different number.
No, this isn't the, I don't see Arcadia on this one.
The numbers. in
no,
box-
Denise,
Yeah.
excuse me.
Mhm.
This is more
This
of
is-
a personal nature. It's not
Oh.
really directly with Arcadia, so
I
you
got
don't have to recuse yourself.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm gonna put you on hold, okay, Pat?
What?
she's gonna put you on hold, so you can't do anything.
I'm gonna walk away.
Okay, come back in a few minutes.
How did you go?
Okay, so, we have someone here for this presentation?
Yeah,
In
it's
the
Josh.
room?
Yes, Josh Gardner here.
Okay, Josh, the comments from last time were note on plans, site and elevations, all colors, materials, and detailing except proposed lighting to match existing. Provide details of the new proposed light fixture elevation and plant view, include a cut sheet, note temperature 2700 Kelvin, minimize the number of lights. Okay,
Yep.
For preliminary and final, I think, yes, and that's how it's agendized. Whoopee, everything worked.
Correct. So yeah, as you can see there on the site plan, I've noted in red, I think one of the comments was remove the 2 non-native trees that's in the building footprint. There were little tiny trees that he had just planted.
Yep.
So I added a note to remove those 2 non-native trees.
Okay.
And then I've added a note pretty much on every single sheet to match the finishes of the house with the exception of the light fixture.
Okay, let's just keep scrolling. Here we go. Here's your
And then elevations, yep, I've denoted in red the locations on the elevations of the light fixtures. There was also a comment about making sure that the gutter is not a box gutter, but an OG gutter. So I made a comment there and changed that. Made the, or inserted the light fixture, and I put a little red box around the fact that it's kind of small in there, night sky compliant, and also that it meets the 2700 Kelvin temperature.
Yep, I see that right there.
Yep. And the night sky is right above that, and the red box with the blue symbol up by the bigger, yep, right there. And then I added, okay, you can continue on the next sheet. Added that same note to that sheet. There, the electrical plan on the bottom left shows the locations of the 3 exterior light fixtures, either side of the garage and by the man door.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last sheet I added is a new sheet showing materials board with photos of the existing house, matching the existing house with some example photos and the elevations for clarity.
Okay. Any questions? Can we go to public comment board? Are there any members of the public who wish to address the board regarding this item?
We don't have anybody in the audience and no one online, so we do not have any public comment.
Okie dokie, board.
You did a good job.
I don't have any comments.
No.
No comments.
Very thorough.
Yes.
Okay, anybody want to make a
Perfect.
motion?
I make a motion.
Chris made a motion for preliminary and final.
Yes.
What's that, Alan?
Who's voting?
Neither of you are voting today.
I'll second.
Andrew seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll
Take care.
You too. Bye.
Okay, item number 5, 24/34, Ballard Canyon LLC, new single-family dwelling. This is your conflict, Denise?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay, we went. Does Buck have a conflict with this one as well?
Yeah, she does.
All right, so don't let her in yet. That's why I thought we were going. Okay. Okay. All right, so this is the first time we've seen this, correct?
No, this is, the second time.
Second time. Doesn't say that on the agenda.
It says
I thought-
further conceptual, but it doesn't say when it was here last.
Yeah, we're missing the dates. That's okay. I thought it was the second time, Tom. All right.
So this was seen on April 12th.
Okay. I think I've got all 4. Yes. Okay, so walk us through it. I don't have any comments. Do you have comments from last time? She's looking for the comments. Give her a second. Sure. You want to read them, Alan?
There's 8 comments. Would prefer darker stone for the dry stack stone elements such as chimneys on the structures and for the retaining walls. Number 2, the cabana roof line is not consistent with the roof line of the house. Please change to be more consistent with the roof line of the house. Number 3, the cabana and the spa need to be designed to conform to and be set into the topography as successfully demonstrated with the house. This may require pulling these elements in and tightening up the site plans. Number 4, provide all dimensions necessary to demonstrate compliance with hillside ridgeline requirements. Number 5 is elevation should show overall building height. Number 6, there may be functional issues with the driveway and garage layout. Number 7, provide another means of access to the pool that doesn't always rely on the stairs. And the last one, number 8, consider the site arrangement of the pool, spa, cabana, and home, including the distance, large quantity of paving, and proximity of the spa to the cabana. Closer may be better. This is where we don't design anything for people? Just want to make sure.
Okay. So I zoomed in a little bit for you, Tom, but
Okay, I think this might be the second half of the 2 strings of drawings here.
okay. Do you want to start on
The very,
this one?
yeah, I think we just, yeah, that's the first page.
Okay.
Zoom out a little bit, and then there's a lot of sheets, so
I'll just say next or comment on these, but I think it would be, at this point, we can take a quick look at that rendering.
I don't know why it's all zoomed in for you. It's not zoomed in on mine.
Excuse me?
There's something going on with yours.
Someone's, which is in your control.
No, because look at mine. There we go. I don't know what happened, but here's finally caught up. All right.
That'll be fine. So, yeah, so, really the two primary topics, and I'll get into detail on these two and then address the minor ones on this list is, this is a good image to introduce the changes. Previously, if you remember, the Cabana building, which is off to the left there, was right up front center with a roof line that didn't really match the rest of the building. So that's been moved over to the west, and the architecture has been settled in with the rest of the project. So let's proceed to the site plan. It's several pages down, and I'll go through how we repositioned the building on the site to accommodate some of the concerns, primarily the other main topic, which was the driveway and the motor court. So if we want to keep going, we can come back to any photos or scope if we'd like to. I'm just going to touch on the areas. And if you want to stop right here, I've got better drawings, but this illustrates how the building conforms to the 16, or actually the 19-foot height requirement on this rural hillside ridge line. So we can come back to that if you'd like, but it complies. And as you can see, the lower section, the Cabana now sits well below that height as before we were struggling with that portion of the project. Next slide. We can come back to the materials for questions. Okay, this is just the overall survey. We updated the survey just to locate some of the oak trees around the site, and that helped us as we repositioned the building. We were able to really enhance the entry experience through some oak trees. So this is a good drawing here. This is the overall site. The next page will zoom in on that, but this shows how the driveway now connects to the existing driveway. And we have the road engineered up the hill with a turnout. And we've been able to eliminate retaining walls except for the turnout area as it turns. And as you can see, as the driveway now turns around that existing oak in between the other scrub oaks, it's actually a very nice approach. We have a rendering that we can show you at the end that kind of illustrates how the topography works. And then as you enter up into the motor court, we were able to get more area by taking the building site and sliding it down the hill about 40 feet. So if you wanted to compare this to the previous layout, you would find that this house footprint is further up the hill 40 feet. And in moving it down laterally 40 feet, it also lowered the height of the building, which reduces any possibility more of it profiling. And then in terms of the retaining walls to the northwest of the motor court, the lower wall is about 4 feet and it increases to 5 feet at the house. And then there's a sloped terrace between them. And then the upper wall goes from 2 feet all the way up to about 5 feet there, perfect. And the cut behind it does not exceed 3 to 1. And that cut feathers in with the existing topography that comes down from that upper oak tree. And as you can see on this site plan, the location now of the Cabana, which has been moved over to the west. And then we've added some other features such as the bocce. But I think when you get to the landscape and to the renderings, you'll see how the terracing and the pathways between these amenities on the site work well with not only the existing topography, but also with boulders and rocks and low walls and landscaping that really soften the vertical appearance of the structure from afar. Next slide is, so this shows a portion of that northwesterly motor court, how the walls work. It gets a little bit more severe, like I was describing, closer to the house, but that's what we're doing. And then the road section that we've got, and if you keep scrolling, I think we get to the landscape plan. We can come back to this, but this is a good illustration of how the landscaping and the soft walls are creating separation between the house and the destination locations further down the hill. Next slide.
Oops, sorry. I pulled it out of the, grabbed it, and put it into the, there we go. There we go.
And this is an overall, the septic system is located and it's been engineered, it's been sorted out. You can see the, yeah, this is a good slide. It's a little bit more detail on, how the buildings work down the slope, the height, and the relative existing grades to the new grades. I'm gonna come back to any of this questioning. Next slide, and then that shows us the lower floor plan. So the lower level has that, the bedroom wings, which is really a separate wing that exits out to the pool level, but now it is, has a softer connection with landscaping that the landscape architect will get into. And then, as you can see, the pool has been moved further from the house and the cabana to the west. And then if we go on another slide, I think we get to the upper plan. There's the upper plan, which is essentially the same, but again, it's been moved further down the hill and some subtle tweaks, which really don't amount to much. Next slide. That's just the lighting, and that's the roof plan. And these are the elevations. This gives you an idea of the color palette and the deep eaves and how the shadows will help soften the building masses. And it gives you a good idea too of how the landscaping on the walls can kind of work with the existing topography and come down the hill without projecting a tall building mass. Next slide. And then these are, that's the westerly elevation on the bottom, that's the master bedroom that you see. And then there is the cabana on the lower right portion of that bottom elevation, which is working well with the house architecture. And then, of course, the upper elevation is the south. Next slide. And these are building sections. We can go over any plate heights and so forth, and roof pitches if you'd like to. We're looking at a metal roof, sort of a deep sort of a gunmetalish type of a roof that has had success here in the valley. It's not very shiny, and it kind of captures the sky a bit in terms of a little deep. Next slide. Just more sections. Maybe we could go to some, there's a few renderings that we've sent. If there, you can see those, that thing in the.
Let's see.
And then we've got architectural details. I'm happy to go over those with you.
I think this is the one thing.
Yeah, so there's this one. So this is really shows what the earlier one got up close, and that's an accurate representation of the walls that we're proposing. So this is actually from the Revit model that is actually representing the topography and the wall designs. And then there's another sheet, this one, which is really helpful because it shows how we're handling that northerly lower wall with those two step walls. And then the slope behind it is still very natural. So it's not a deep, steep cut behind those two step walls, and they really are hidden by the mass of the house from afar. And then the bottom right shows what it would look like as a direct eye level approach to the front door and how those retaining walls would affect the entry experience. And then the lower left image is the master bedroom, and that sits really right at grade. And it works its way down with some natural elements rather than a lot of hard surfaces. But I'd like the landscape architect to maybe go over to the landscape plan, which is, yeah, perfect, it's right there. And I think the plants are over. Do we have someone from Parks office?
Yeah.
Scott Dominguez with Arcadia Studio. So yeah, just to do a quick overview of our preliminary conceptual landscape plan here. Obviously, the idea is to accent and enhance the existing surrounding landscape as well as the architecture of the house and other elements. So there is an existing oak grove to the north east of the driveway, and so we're gonna add to that by bringing some more oak trees both on the north and south side of the property. those are the larger sort of graphic symbols there. And to the northwest, there's an existing, the property line for a neighboring house, so obviously providing some buffering and screening on that end as well. As Tom explained, for the terrace walls for the entry motor court, we're help softening that up with some landscape and planting material. The gap between those two terrace walls is, I think, about 8 to 10 feet. So enough room to have a gradual slope up to it, as well as to provide some landscape in between. Moving towards the back, that's again where we have some terrace walls, again helping soften up those retaining walls with some planting in between those walls as we step down to the pool area. Again, our plant palette's going to be, you know, a lot of natives, California natives, grasses, and hardy shrubs that'll fit to the architecture of the home as well as the surrounding landscape. We have the pool area, and then adjacent to that is a little bocce court. And again, you know, sort of south of that is an existing naturalized hillside of, you know, grasses and shade brush. So we'll feather into that to help kind of connect those two elements and buffer that transition space. But again, just focusing on, you know, native trees, oaks, maybe some olive trees, and perennials and grasses that will be introduced to the landscape. As far as hardscape, you know, we're still looking at some of the different materials, but motor court, you know, could be pavers or chip seal, and in the back and the pool deck, you know, looking at more natural elements and just said stone boulders to help provide a little bit more organic elements in the back there. So it's the landscape presentation.
Any quick questions? Do you have any public comment?
We do not have any public comment.
Okay. No public
Or
comment.
is there anybody in the audience that wish to make a public comment on this item? No.
Okay. All right, who wants to start? And Alan, you and Bo are both voting this time. But it is a conceptual review, so, yeah.
I can lead off.
Okay, thank you, Andrew.
Having not been here for the prior one and just seeing it, it seems as though the site plan certainly been compacted in a way. Even without that context, I can kind of tell that there's a mostly efficient use of space up there going on with the layout of the buildings and the turnaround and all that jazz. There's some things that I appreciate some more information about. The top of walls and finish grades on the civil would be helpful to understand. They're in a couple of spots, but having trouble getting the full sense of where the maximum wall heights are and, you know, where you're seeing those from. Curious to know finish of other architectural elements like the skylights and the chimney shrouds and all that. I can extrapolate or based off of what's shown, but just some clarification on that would be nice. And let's see. Yeah, generally appreciative of the architectural character and the landscape palette that's been pitched.
Well, you want
Well, I think, I like the separation of the buildings, and I think it's well situated into the site. So I think Tom did a good job of that. And again, the landscaping is important. I think Arcadia's done a good job with softening the whole site with the landscape concept.
Chris?
No comment.
Alan?
I have nothing.
Okay. I would echo, what Andrew said, Tom, and the design team, you compacted it much nicer. It was kind of pulled apart, and now it's kind of, it has a cohesive feel to it. I didn't look real close, but you're gonna need to, some of the elevations have, where they have, you're showing your height limits. Your buildings are moving back and forth in the plane, it's very difficult, but, I think you need to, when you, especially when you've got a height like this, you've got height limit here, you know, coming through your drawing, and then you got a partial one here. I think you're gonna need to go back and do some more demonstrations so that the planner can really see.
We have an exhibit towards the front that shows all the points in a very detailed height, presentation.
Okay.
If we keep going towards the front. It's been very detailed.
That's the front of that one.
The first few sheets of the drawings. That's it. So as you can see, all of the points of the roof have been mathematically calculated based on the topography and conforms in detail.
Okay. Then you got it. Thank you. Okay, that was my only comment. The only other thing I urge you to bring, for preliminary is you're gonna need your lighting, and we're gonna wanna see dark sky compliance and all those other things, just the standard.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're gonna be looking for not a whole lot, you know, all around the building kind of thing. And any landscape lighting that you're gonna propose, you should include your lighting. And that's really it. I mean, it tightened up, which is a good thing. So, how do we want to see them return preliminary? It's easier for conceptual today.
Sense to me.
Yep, preliminary,
Yes,
That's good.
okay.
I'll make a motion for you.
Don't need a motion.
No, we're good.
So we'll hope to see you back at the preliminary next time. Sure. Thank you. Number 6, 24 bar 125 Hotchkiss accessory structures. Yeah, get tucked back on. And if nobody minds, I'd like if we could just take a break for 5 minutes, 6 minutes.
Yeah.
I'd just like to comment again, it isn't fair to us or the public to be in a room that's like a theater. We need something that's brighter. I mean, this, staff needs to go back to the county and do something about this. It's just not right.
I know.
Are we unmuted?
Yes, we're ready to go.
Okay, so, I had just called item number 6, 24 bar 125 Hotchkiss accessory structures. And I don't think we've seen this one before. Is that correct?
That's correct, it's a new item.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, we have a land use permit for similar accessory structures that was permitted previously as part of the main house. But this is a revision to the design of those structures that were previously approved.
Let me get the,
Just turn it on. Oh. So.
So, here we go. We have, you're gonna present, step up here. Talk to that, look at that.
Great, I'm here, Liz Hughes, presenting on behalf of Tom Oxner Architects. So this project here consists of 3 accessory structures and the pool. The garage, detached garage, with a covered deck that you can see in that rendering there, adjacent to the pool area, a covered barbecue, trellis element, and then a separate freestanding trellis. All 3 of the structures, were designed and approved it was a different design, but same locations on the site previously. So, is that the previous one, or, oh, that's the survey, okay. So, the barn or the garage area, was actually, if you're looking at this plan here, was originally permitted about 30 feet to the west of this, so closer to where the pool is now. And that area that structure is located in right now is basically a flat, kind of like horse paddock area, which is unusual for the site because it's very steeply sloped. So kind of an existing flat area that we're utilizing to locate the proposed garage area. And the difference between this garage design and the previous design is that the previous design was 798 square feet and had an attached carport area off the back of it. And this one is 900 square feet, is a little bit taller to accommodate RV parking and other equipment parking inside. And then it also has a shed roof that's coming down as a shade structure for the adjacent pool, right? Yeah. Sorry. So these are the side sections of that structure, located on a relatively flat portion of the site. Let's go to the next. Here's your overall site. Yeah, so the overall site plan, I'm just gonna kind of point this, so everyone can see what. I'm gonna zoom in. This is the proposed main residence, which was approved under the previous land use permit, which is under construction now. The original garage that was approved was kind of in this area, and now it's being moved slightly. The pool was originally located, you can actually kind of see it there, on this little knoll area. And what the owners discovered as they spent more time out of the site was, because this is the highest portion of the site here, that locating the pool there, they were very exposed, so they were getting a lot of wind gusting there. So they decided to move the pool kind of to a lower area that could be a little bit more protected. And then this now is just a lawn area above the house. The barbecue trellis is located in this area next to the house. The original location, it was rotated 90 degrees and then was closer to the residence. So we wanted to kind of pull it away a little bit, provide the original design had like an open beam trellis. And what we wanted to do with this design was to provide a solid cover for that element, because as you know, the sun gets really hot here, and so it's a little bit larger, provides shade for both, there's a larger cooking area and then seating under that as well. And then we have another trellis area, which is also an open beam trellis as part of the previous permit and is now partially covered with like a canvas screen. That's an existing barn, so we're not touching that. So those are all those structures on the site, and we have some more drawings about what those trellises.
So you're not here for anything with the house,
That's correct.
you're just here for 2 trellises here, the garage, and then kind of the pool area is included as part of the garage. Yeah.
So this is that covered area off of the garage that's adjacent to the pool.
We've just rotated 90 degrees from that.
Got it. And then some larger garage doors with RV parking in there. And the character of the buildings is very similar to what we had previously proposed. It's a ranch style with a standing seam roof, party siding, and just a traditional ranch looking house.
What's your overall height?
Overall height is 19 feet. Yeah, so we're going to the maximum allowable for this in order to get the RV parking in there. And then some sections, we can go forward to the, and then these are the 2 other structures that we're proposing that are adjacent to the main house. So the larger barbecue covered area, which kind of pushes a little bit into the landscape area, and then the hill behind it, and then our covered trellis here.
This is solid roof and that one's. That's in these areas here.
Yes. And then I think we have some elevations we keep going forward. So plans of the barbecue, elevations of the
So
barbecue.
you get your lighting under the in the barbecue area.
Yeah, so we're planning on recessed lighting in there. Recessed lighting on the other side of the barbecue area, and then I think they want to do a string light at the trellis. This is the covered trellis here.
This one this is open or not?
That is, it has, I believe, we have a canvas screen on the underside of it, so it's not fully, it's not fully covered, but it has some sort of shade structure in between the framing.
Okay, because these look like this is your green, and then you've got your cross pieces, and then you've got something on the top here that isn't identified.
If you go to the keynotes over here, this canvas shade cloth, see material, that's that, yeah, so that's the idea.
Thank you.
And some details. That's the wash.
Yeah.
That looks like the same side.
Oh, this has got the layout for the barbecue. And there's your lighting plan.
Yeah, so mostly recessed lighting under that covered area and some gooseneck downlight sconces at the doors.
I think you had
two pictures. That's that existing flat area with the little pipes, and that's another shed, yeah. So that's where the garage is going, kind of where that existing shed is there. And the pool would be in front of that. Yes. Alright, any other quick questions of clarification, board?
Can you see the pool from the house, from the kitchen?
From, well, the kitchen's on the other side of the house, so you wouldn't be able to see it from there. I don't think so, because there's actually a pretty large existing oak tree there that's kind of between the pool and the house, so I don't think you're really gonna get much visibility.
Is there any lighting proposed on the dining trellis?
I think what we were planning was like a cafe string light,
Excuse me.
yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for clarifying.
So we just were showing like an electrical
Mhm.
outlet there
Yep,
for that.
Got it.
Right now, there's not, like, it's the road or the access drive is the way to get to the pool from the house.
Yeah.
Not a footpath or anything.
No, it's just, I mean, you would walk down the driveway, yeah.
Bethany, I had a question. Did I miss this? There are no restroom facilities, no toilet down by the garage.
There's no restroom facilities, although we do have an outdoor shower proposed, but no restrooms.
Okay.
Is there any reason that RV garage door is where it is in terms of maneuverability
The owner really wanted it there,
as opposed to the middle bay?
and also we have a higher plate height in that area, so that was the reasoning for that.
As opposed to the left side of
Yeah.
that bay.
Just some windows to let in light.
Well, I think what Andrew's point is that
Why isn't that?
if you are having trouble meeting your height requirement, which shows the big door under the highest part of the roof, and the smaller door over the lower part of the roof, you can lower the roof and not have an issue. I think where it's going with it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're at the 19-foot height limit, so.
It's a storage, but
Yeah.
I recall that conversation with storage. the owner.
This was based on a concept image that we were using, like a source image that the owner really liked, so that's what we're trying to accomplish.
Okay, thank you.
There's not another garage at the house, is there?
There's not a garage, no.
Any other questions? All right, public comment?
If there's anybody in the public that wants to make a comment, please raise your hand. We do not have any public in the audience or online.
Okay. Who wants to start?
I'll start.
Okay, Alan.
Number one, I'd like to know, before you became an architect, did you work as a weather person on one of the TV stations? Just want to know. I have to tell you the truth, I've got no problem with this at all, if we wanted to put it through the final today.
Easier for conceptual.
Yeah, I know, but if there's any way we could put this, I don't see any reason for this to come back to us. What are they gonna do?
Can I jump in?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll start with another joke. I want to be on record that I'm jealous of the kitchen setup you have proposed. Yes, for the barbecue. I'm looking for whatever future round happens, I'm looking for a little more information about the materiality of the tube steel for the different elements. I think that's one thing that I wasn't catching as they went through the set. I think the architecture's fine and the site development and grading's fine. I have a little bit of a question mark over my head about the RV garage door location myself. That's the only really nitpicky thing. If there's any way to have more of a, natural flow to the fenestration pattern on that elevation, we'd be happy to see it. But other than that, those are my comments.
What was I didn't hear, I just, what was the first thing you mentioned, the tube seal? I don't know if that is.
Yeah, they don't have any material called out or what kind of, you
There's
know,
no color, it just says tube
color.
steel.
Yeah. And that's the majority of the architecture they're proposing, so.
Then I must be wrong. What is tube seal? Am I hearing it right?
A tube made out of steel, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Kinda like a
Or a
tube.
cinder.
Kind of like a knife.
Sort of 8 by 8.
Um,
Post it, so 8
I'm gonna
4 sides.
jump in real quick, before we disintegrate into multiple conversations.
Instructions.
People.
I'm thinking seal.
Bethany,
Yeah, but,
could I just make some quick comments?
sure.
Echoing what Adam said, just some more detail on the shade structure itself. And so the covering is canvas. Is that what they said? I couldn't hear very well. Oh, just like a stretched shade cloth. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
I'm concerned about the market lights. Just to forewarn the applicant that unless they're temporary, they may get the attention of the night sky group because they don't comply. So it would be good to think about maybe some permanent lighting for these areas that meets the night sky ordinance. And those are my only comments. Everything else looks fine.
Okay, I'm gonna jump in, you didn't have any pictures of the building, or materials of the building that's under construction.
We have a material board that's part of this presentation, I think, but, and so the materials shown on that are very similar to the one that's under construction.
Well, one of our findings very specifically relates to, buildings, especially adjacent to other structures, they need to fit in, and they need to be the same materials, and they need to have the same look. And so absent any pictures of, I'm gonna call it the existing under construction residence, okay? But we don't know what the materials are for that.
The existing structure has deep overhangs with 4x6 rafters. So the first thinking was to build the trellis structure out of 4x6 material, but as we know, in San Ynez, that's gonna get twisted and beat up and impossible to maintain. So a steel will allow us to paint it to match out the rafters, and it will be very easy to maintain and long lasting. So that's the concept.
Well, I think what you're gonna need to do is you're gonna need to support that concept, and I think that jives with what Andrew said, with you need more information on that tube steel. We need to know what color it's gonna be, what the finish is gonna be, all of that kind of thing. And I think that you also need to provide us what the permitted structure will look like, you know, what it's gonna be next to, you know? And I realize that's a little difficult because it's under construction. So you're gonna have to go back to some of the drawings for that to show us, maybe with the elevations. I don't know how you do that. This is kind of an odd situation. But you need to provide us with enough information that we can make our finding that it is in keeping and or matches the existing structure, quote unquote. Because that's a finding we have to make. So, and I think that will help us be much more comfortable about everything else that's going on if we understand what that vernacular is, materially and color wise. That's the biggest thing for me. I think your lighting is, we're gonna need to see those cut sheets with all the appropriate, 27 Kelvin and all that kind of stuff. I think your garage is a little well lit. you've got quite a bit of light under there, and I know you've got, you've got your goosenecks. It just seems to me that, maybe you can address that by how many lumens are coming out of each of the fixtures, but as far as, when you turn the corner and you've got the door underneath, I would expect to see a fixture next to that door. I don't think you had one, but.
Yeah, we had recessed lighting in that area.
Because it's on the roof, right?
Yeah, so it's on the underside of.
Right. So that's a good way to deal with it. I would echo Puck's comment about the string lights. They've got to be temporary, or because you just can't. There's just no way to. So you should really look at that as far as how you do that, and that's pretty much my comments. Denise, Noel?
Yeah, it's too bad the pool didn't work next to the house, because it's tough to get to the pool when it's that far away. And I hope they get a lot of use out of it. It's a big investment, and it's just, when you can't see it, it seems like it's hard to use. So that's my only thought.
Well,
Did we or did we not see the house when it got permitted?
did we reviewed the house, right? Yes.
So can't they simply put a note on there, these plans that the color and materials match the house?
Yes, but as they stated, they're not. They've already differed from what the house is. Because that would be an easy way to.
Right, the color matches, but the wood is steel, it looks the same, but one is painted steel and one is painted wood, so yes.
So we just need some more information. We don't even have any of that documentation here. So you need to go back and make sure you include that. And to Lowell's remark, the materials may not be exactly the same, but if you can say, these colors are gonna match. We're using these colors, which will match the rafter tails and so on and so forth. So if you get those, and of course that goes on your elevations and your details and all that good stuff. And you will eventually need the color board. So, and a digital one is fine for right now. Yeah, what you're doing is fine for right now.
And the reason they're here is because it's hillside ridgeline?
Yeah. So how do we see the return?
Preliminary final.
I agree.
Okay,
I agree.
all right, there you go.
Thank you.
With the planners memo.
I heard you, I heard, Andrew, I'm sorry. I read on Facebook.
24 BAR 119,
And I
items
kept
new,
thinking,
single family
that's what I said,
dwelling.
didn't know what to think.
It's like a car repair part.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Hey there, Madam Chair. This is Adam butting in.
Yes,
How you doing?
doing well. What can we do for you?
Just before you get to Hydos real quick, I just wanted to point out, I don't know if this is an appropriate time. I just wanted to point out a few things that I'd like your board to kind of weigh in on and perhaps give some feedback to the applicant too. But maybe you need to introduce the item first.
Okay, is there something that you would like to tell us about, where it is in the processing or anything else that you need to speak to this?
Sure, I can do that now. So the application, the associated land use permit application is has been reviewed, and it's, as of now, it's incomplete. But I think the main things I'd like CBAR to kind of weigh in on, I guess first, the amount of grading that's occurring from this development. So there's about 13,600 cubic yards of cut being proposed as of right now, and 900 cubic yards of fill. As you guys know, there's setting as Valley Community Plan policies, as well as comprehensive plan policies that discourage the excessive amount of grading occurring. So also there's about 23 oak trees proposed to be removed for the driveway for the house. We're not sure at this point. We'll need some more information from the applicant of the specific type of oak trees that those are. There are community plan policies where the applicant will need to demonstrate that, you know, an effort to protect those trees, and if unavoidable, most likely a tree protection plan will need to be required. But yeah, really just grading, oak tree removal. There's no public viewing angle from streets, parks that I'm aware of or know of. So this is here for Hillside Ridgeline, but if CBAR, in your review today, can focus a little bit on, you know, site design, visual impacts as far as grading, oak tree removal, and how those are or might be inconsistent with comprehensive plan, San Ynez Valley Community Plan, visual design policies that we have, that'd be great.
Thank you, Adam, and thanks
No worries.
for coming out.
Of course, thank you.
Well, my name is Lonnie Shadow. I'm here on behalf of Donaldson and Partners, Robert Donaldson. Yeah, so just to describe where we are, we're north of Los Olivos. Yeah, on the second page or third, just for. Yeah, that's right here. So we're in Oak Trail Ranch, HOA. This parcel is very similar to the neighbors' parcels in that the access is from below, and the most reasonable and desirable building sites are up on the ridge lines or just below them. If you go to survey, which is the next. So as you can see, you can see that the property is mostly in oak forest. There are 3 building sites that we've identified, which is right here toward the south. Right here, we call the knoll, because that's the highest point, and then right here, a little further north, facing east. Sticking with that for a second. Yep. Only 2 of the 3 potential building sites were considered. The more exposed upper building site is much closer to the nearest southerly neighbor. So, yeah, so we would basically be looking at where we probably want to do that. In addition to the neighbor to the west, who's here, if we chose that, he would actually have a pretty decent line of sight to pass. So we
Talk louder, please.
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's your microphone.
All the way over there.
Yes.
All right. The knoll is the highest point for the same reasons we chose not to use that one. And so we selected the lower of the 3 building sites to maximize privacy to and from the neighbors, as well as minimize exposure to strong southwest winds.
So that's this area.
Correct. Okay. So the next 2 sheets are going to show the driveway options. When we first submitted the grading numbers that the planner was just describing. Actually, sorry, go to the second one. This is that driveway that we were looking at doing. And it meets all the requirements of code. It's how you can actually get up there, but the grading numbers and the amount of oaks that we're affecting are pretty intense, and we just personally don't want to do that. So we go back to the previous page. We are currently working with the fire department to get this to work. Right now, we're struggling to meet a couple of their slope requirements. But we are working on it, and we do have a more good solution. And this particular grading scenario has much less export, like closer to 0, because we actually have to build up our site, our driveway in this area to get up to here, so we have less than 20% slope. So it also takes us through a clearer bit of the forest. We don't, because we're just starting to study this, we're just starting to study this, we don't actually have a complete survey of this area, but the rough numbers, specifically for trees, but the rough numbers are working out. Along there, we're looking to locate a 1,200 square foot barn. And then that'll take us all the way up with a number of turnouts. Larger turnout at the top, an open carport that's 850 square feet. A main residence that is 2,128 square feet, and a guest house that is 330 square feet. So the top right is the neighbor to the east, and if you zoom way in there, which I don't know if you can in this moment, but you can't even see the house, they're covered by trees. There's no real direct line of sight. This is the neighbor to the west, I'm sorry, it's okay. Yeah, their roof line is impossible. It's very challenging. There's just a lot in between us. And then same thing with the east, if you just roll all the way to the left. Or sorry, to the south, that's the roof line of the neighbor, sheltered by trees. So directly we'll take out a couple of trees along that way, but we are going to work with the replanting of them to make sure that that screening is maintained. All right, so then in terms of, let's see. So the resident steps down topography to minimize the visual impact. This is at 16-foot ridgeline height limit. Toward the south, we're at our lowest grade, or I'm sorry, toward the east, we're at our lowest grade. We are a couple feet below the height limit, and we only ever really get within a foot of the height limit. That the tallest point of the roof measuring is about 13 feet from finished grade. Okay, thank you. Two separate buildings form the main residence, as described. The larger building has a main living, dining, kitchen area, 2 bedroom suites, and a powder room. The guest house is a smaller detached but connected by a shade structure. And then the carport above. The carport sits 2 feet higher than the other 2 structures. That's just to navigate that hillside. So we pulled to a standard 8-foot ceiling height in the bedrooms and a modest 10-foot in the living areas to create that very roof height. In the entry, we pop up just to get daylight to really, because you go back to the previous. All right, so architecturally the residence is organized around 4 concrete walls laid out in a mill pattern. That's this right here. This creates a central entry courtyard and defines the living area. That central entry courtyard is right here, the entry area is right here, and this is where we pop up to that 13 feet. This organization also provides a sense of order and creates private outdoor rooms for each bedroom. To further emphasize these outdoor rooms, perforated roof and screening structures provide shade, privacy, and filter headlights, specifically on the here. Filter headlights, all creating a visual connection to the open forest. The screening near the carport hides parked vehicles from the entry courtyard and provides a backdrop for the landscape screening. So really this key one. Generally, we envision a natural landscape around the home with more ornamental landscaping and drought-tolerant landscaping within the courtyards directly adjacent to the residence. For the exterior materials, we further enhance this hideaway feel of the residence. We will bring a material board in the future, but right now we're working with weathering steel and board form concrete as the primary finishes. These are natural looking materials that complement the existing landscape and will take on more character over time. DG gravel for most of the drives. I think the driveway itself will need to work that out with the fire department. Like it'll be good enough concrete. So, and then also our efforts with the driveway have been to reduce retaining walls as well. So we do have one retaining wall to create this, the turnaround at the top and the parking area, which will be that board form concrete. And the maximum height on that is 4 feet. And it's perfectly here. That includes.
Well, this is the old, you can see all that's the previous right away, this is the newer one.
Correct. And this should have 4 civil, but it should have 2 civil sheets, one for the longer one and the shorter one. That should.
So there was a longer one.
Yeah.
Shorter one.
It's interesting, that's the architectural. 2 C sheets.
Oh, that's just massive.
Okay, well,
Oh, well, maybe it's different. Because that was the architectural, the two versions.
those are the 2 architectural versions. We're mimicking what the civil showing. So if you do go to that shorter one. Yeah, you'll see there's a couple turnouts. We've got it much easier. We're not going all the way up here. This is actually graded a lot easier to access as well. And then if you, this shading being like what we're expecting for the cut and fill is much.
It's your extensive grading.
It's our extensive grading, but it's much smaller on the scale.
Let's do that.
What do you think it's gonna be approximately? Do you have any numbers? How much less it'll be?
The numbers for the second. Peter Hydas.
Hi, Peter.
I did.
And you thought you were gonna take out on that lower one about 3 or 4 trees you thought?
Oh, lower, on the one that we're.
The lower one?
You don't really have to take out any trees that still get up here, that we know of. We have the ability, right now we're showing it pretty straight, once we get our my background, the few trees that are down there, we will make an effort to not touch those.
Okay.
Right, total graded area is 47,500 square feet. That's including all kinds of film. Let's see. For fill, it's 4,800 square feet. For cut, it's, or sorry, not square feet, cubic yards, 4,800 cubic yards. And for the cut, it's 5,000 cubic yards. So we've got a difference of 200.
So you're balanced, yeah.
Closer to being balanced.
Yeah,
Much
way
closer.
closer.
We also have, in terms of just replanting for those trees, this forest is a forest, and we are very comfortable planting additional trees down the harmful sites and slopes. Provide additional screening if neighbors request it.
And do you have an idea of how many of the oak impacts are removals versus just significant encroachments on the CRZ?
So on this scheme, I think there is 1, 2, 3, potentially 4, just outright removals.
Okay,
The rest are impacted.
how about up on the building pad?
Sure, up on the building pad. So early on, we had the carport further this way, we moved it further south to avoid impacting this tree too much, but we are impacting it. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4 trees that, 2 that are outright removing them, 2 that are impacted. Yeah, the 2 that are within the floor plan, 2 that are, this one might just be a removal. So 3 removals, 2 impacted.
And is the one that's remaining, does that play into that circular opening screen ceiling layout at all?
We're referencing that as, so what we would like to do is develop that circular screen into something that's more related to this topography, the site and the forest. So in our next round, we'll come back with a more developed patterning for that, but we are not pushing our roof line out that direction, so it's not as if we're like hugging a tree and letting it grow. No. I don't know if that's where you're aiming. Yeah, we're not entirely doing that, but For the trees that we do remove, I know Robin Johnson has a desire to use those trunks, limbs, whatever, as some sort of sculptural ornament underneath this, these different shade screens within the courtyard. So we'll see how that pans out, if we can actually recover any of the trees in that way.
I have one more question. 8 feet on the bedroom ceiling height, is that due to you being pressed up against the?
No, that's for us, that's for our variation in massing and just the experience, really making the living areas feel expansive. And the word that we're really gravitating to with this house is a hideaway. So the bedrooms are really meant to feel very private. And each one takes advantage of a different view. So the south one is a lot more rolling hills. The north one is like you're in a forest.
Any other questions?
Could you go back to the detailed floor plan? The one that shows the scope, the spoke of the wheel.
Oh, the covered one, that's still. That one's. That's right. Compliments on your navigation.
Oh, that was total luck.
So there's the pinwheel with the 4 concrete walls that really anchor this. The rooms are gonna set up there. We are gonna work with clear stories, especially in the bedrooms. Well, especially in this bedroom. These are a little blocked by.
Was there a grade change between the front entrance and the guest house or anything?
So the grade change is actually along this screening line between the carport and the guest house. The guest house is nestled up against that retaining wall, so it will have that retaining wall exposed from the interior. But this is also that 8 ceiling height, so we're trying to keep sticking with that measurement.
So all one level on that side and then parking kind of.
Up here, so you pull in from the driveway, you park underneath this carport, and then you walk down a fairly gracious ramp, past landscaping into a courtyard, past more of the screening on the left, past a concrete wall on the right, and then to the last entryway that will have, that you can't see through the directly.
And there's a little pass through right there to get to the.
Correct. The owner wishes to use that as an office as well, so. Right. Access.
Cool. Any other questions? Do we have any public comment?
If there's anybody in the room that wants to make a comment, please raise your hand. Not seeing anybody in the audience, and we do not have anybody online either, so no public comment.
Okay, who wants to start?
So happy to see that you have, you're looking at engineering a little differently, so you can reduce your capital. That's awesome. I think the building is, it's to the site, and I like it so far.
Well, I'll go next. I love the simplicity of it. I think it's stunning, so I'm very supportive of the design.
I think if there can be any more of a push done to help lessen the impacts on the folks, which obviously I know you're on the trail of, so if you could keep going on that line of thinking, particularly at the building pad. I think there's gotta be some way to incorporate that more into your landscape vision or the architectural vision or both. You know, and if not, it is what it is, but I think if there's a way to continue lessening the impacts on the oaks, it'd be helpful, but architectural character is nice, and I don't have any other comments. Oh, the carport, I like the carport. I think the perspective you chose to take isn't doing you any favors because it makes it seem really foreboding over the house. I don't know if that's dictated by any specific piece of equipment they're trying to get in there, but you know, if you could consider lessening that even incrementally or working with the topography more to make that not seem like the tallest element on the site, it might be helpful.
I just realized, and this is, if it's their forever house, or might be useful to consider somehow to add a handrail. There's a slope, just for safety.
I have another question for you. Do you know how many oaks are on the site?
1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keeping that in mind, I don't have a problem removing half a dozen oaks on the site.
Oh, sure. Yeah, the oaks are my number one priority, to leave as many there as possible. I feel like what Andrew was saying about the site, actual build site, there should be a way to maneuver the house either down or to the side, I guess to the southwest skosh, to keep those trees as much as intact as possible. Driveway should be able to move around the trees. I understand what the highway department says.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that, and it seems like a lot of cut and fill, but if you're closer to being balanced, then I think I capitulate on that, but the trees are my number one concern, and leaving them as intact as much as humanly possible.
I agree with everything that's said. My only concern really is that, the actual construction of the house, what's shown as sort of disturbed area always seems to double. And the soils conditions out in this area are not really terribly conducive to easy restoration. So I would just urge the applicant to try and really make sure you have a realistic view of what will need to be restored. And although I really appreciate the sort of linearity of plantings in a landscape with this type of architecture, I'm not really the little line of shrubs or whatever. I just think it should sort of, there might need to be more of that if that's a direction that you want to play with some of the planting. But I really love the structures, and I think it will be a fun project. And so I just want to be realistic about what kind of areas are really going to end up being disturbed. And as far as the oak trees go, I think as long as there is reasonable mitigation, we just have a few generations of oak trees and we need more young ones. So we can, let's plant younger guys. It would be helpful for this oak woodland. That's it.
Okay.
Sorry, to clarify, planting younger ones as in more younger ones, not less older ones, is that what?
Well, you're getting into mitigation, but I think this was in contrast to Lowell's comment about what matters if we, it's okay to lose 6 since we have 400. There's comfort zone there. And I think what Buck is indicating is that those 400 trees are kind of all of age, and they're going to be elder trees. And so while you could look at the mitigation and say, oh, we really need it with 400, but yeah, you do, because those 400 are going to start disappearing now. And so really you should be planting these new ones to kind of fill in as these are going. Did I get that right, Buck?
Yeah, I mean, it's the long view. And again, I think, well, I don't want to go into the weeds about mitigation, but I like the project.
Well, there is, you know, fire mitigation too for the.
Yes,
we
there will
certainly
be.
have to have clearing for fire, but.
Right.
And oak trees self-propagate, you know, like crazy. I mean, I'm always clearing out the random oaks coming up on my property, even in the middle of the lawn, you know, so there's a lot of self-propagation by oaks. It's just every site's a little different, but I'm sure if you looked around that site, did a walking tour of that site, you're gonna see probably several hundred small oaks coming up.
Yeah, well, like Peck said, we can get in the weeds with it.
Yeah.
So, okay,
We want you to plant a bunch of acorns.
so,
The birds do that.
and scribbles. I like the project as well. It's fairly modest. It's really nice. I think that the comments we've received today are kind of sort of, aside from the oak tree mitigation and the grading, what architecturally, what we're really getting into is some really almost kind of nitpicky kinds of things, because quite frankly, everything looks very good the way it is. So we're able to focus in on a lot of these details. So, but yeah, I agree with what people said. I really look forward to seeing you come in with that survey that really shows you, what your critical root zones are gonna be and where you're gonna, how you're measuring your impacts and exactly what is gonna happen with that shorter driveway. I'm really glad that you're able to find a different way to access, because, yeah, the one was a little, whew, that was a little tough. So, yeah, I think everybody here has, supported, for Adam. We would definitely support this alternative route, and it's gonna get really interesting. This is gonna be about the oak trees. A lot of the project, most of the landscaping is probably going to be about the oak trees as you move forward. I think when you come back and you, I'm assuming you're gonna have somebody who's gonna do the landscape architecture. Moving forward, at some point, you're gonna get somebody in here. And I think, it'll be interesting to see, the melding of architecture into the oaks and into the site, so we really look forward to that too. Okay. So how do we want to see them return? Conceptual preliminary, or just conceptual, or what do we want to see them return?
Conceptual.
Conceptual?
Conceptual preliminary?
Well, they're here for conceptual now.
Yes. So it would be further conceptual.
We would love a chance to develop it to a preliminary.
Well,
When we go.
preliminary is, we'd love you to take it to that level. Preliminary, really, even if we say return conceptual preliminary, it's quite, a lot of it will come down to where you are with on the land use side of things, because we kind of need to be jiving the same. So we need to be the same review level. So it's just going to depend on the land use, how they're moving through the process, and how much you can work out with your grading and trees and your surveying, and so there's a lot of things that gotta kind of all make that nexus.
Yeah.
So, is that okay with everybody?
But if we're generally assuaging Adam's concerns on the planning side, can we give him a shot at concept prelim?
Yeah, we can say that, and if they haven't supplied enough data, or Adam's not quite at that point, he'll just come back to conceptual.
That's why I said conceptual, it's gonna come back anyways.
Yeah. But,
It seems like it's mostly the grading
yeah,
that you wanted to study more, a little bit
Well,
more
if you-
with that.
If you bring them back as conceptual preliminary, then it's our decision what approval we give them.
that's also correct. Just because you're agendized conceptual preliminary doesn't mean that we'd actually take the preliminary action. Because we may be a little cart before the horse at that point. So, the conceptual is a safe bet. Obviously, you can go back to that. So I think it'll work out in the wash with Adam
Yeah.
and everything and what you choose to submit and what you're able to submit as you move forward, because we're not trying to pressure Adam, we're not trying to pressure you, we're just trying to say, here's our. So, okay.
Yep.
Does that sound good? All right. I think that's it.
What did we decide? Sorry.
There's no action taken. And I think our notes will recommend conceptual preliminary, pending the planner's memo. So the planner has to be in a place, like I said, the land use stuff has to be in a place, and, because there's a lot more that he's got going on. We're just saying, we're comfortable with that. Most likely, you will return to concept, or just conceptual, I mean, realistically. But we're comfortable with the next step.
Thank you guys.
Okay?
Thanks.
Okay, so, item number 8, 24 bar 133. That one open here.
Did somebody forget a bag over here?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
That, those were giving away my stuff yet?
Huh? Yeah, cool.
There we go. Okay, so you wanna start with where you're located?
Yes, so, my name is Cash, I'm representing, Mosaic Architects. So the property is located at 3265 Ocampo Road in Los Olivos. That's the site that you see there marked in red. This is a project for a full-time residence, detached garage, and a pool on the site for the owner. This is a project that's already been approved by you guys with a different design, a different layout, and a different style. The new owners bought it from the previous owners, and now they're changing what they want. The things that are not changing is the location of the site, kind of the grading around the site, and then the road and the auto court are pretty much in the same configuration. They're just being adjusted for the new style of the house. The overall scope of the work has been reduced pretty significantly. We're now a 2,000 square foot, 2,600 square foot house, 2-bedroom, 2.5 bath. It's a single story house, and then it has a detached garage that's 1,000 square feet. And then we're adding a changing room, a pool bath with just the sink and the toilet, and then an outdoor shower for the pool, to service the pool. So that's kind of the layout here is, we've got kind of the main drive coming up through here. We have an entrance to the garage, so that's your parking, and then we come in through the side for a main kind of access to the house for the owners. And then we also kind of have this driveway, kind of public auto court that gives you access for guests to come up into the house from the main entry. So the main entry being this, which faces southwest toward Ballard Canyon. So the big thing for them is they want views of Ballard Canyons toward the south. And then we have the house completely centered on a view to Grass Mountain northeast. So the layout as we go is the kitchen's the side over here with the guest suite. And then we have some covered porches. They really want to get to capture the views, so we have glass walls. What we want to do is mitigate those glass walls with covered porches, patios, trellis structure. So we have a covered patio here for the entry, covered porches to get the views in the south, covered porch to the north of their bedroom, their bedroom looking north, and then kind of a pool. The material palette is going to be dark and muted. You can see the board there, but I also brought kind of, this is the vertical wood siding that we're using. And then we have kind of the elements for a standing seam metal roof in midnight bronze color, which I have if you want to see it. And then what we're doing is any of the trim elements are going to match that color. And then we have a bronze Marvin style colored metal windows with the metal accents. So any of these metal trellis structures matching that. when looking at these colors at the site, they are muted. They're not as dark as they appear here. The sunlight kind of lightens them up and turns them to a more detail.
Is that the actual color, the one that you showed us
That is the color that we're proposing right
for the walls?
now. Yes.
Okay.
And then you want any other samples you want to show?
No.
We like showing that.
Showing you. So this is kind of the proposed colors for some of the hardscaping.
Is that like concrete, the concrete?
It's kind of like it's a limestone color.
Mhm.
And so that's what we're calling it there. And this is the color for the windows and kind of the metalwork.
Cool.
And then this would be the stained seam metalwork. And kind of the trim of the fascia elements and the gutter elements.
So the overhang will have a different color than the.
Yes, so the ceilings, what we wanted to do is, so the house being muted and dark,
Mhm.
we wanted to not have that heavy feeling when you're standing underneath the overhangs.
Mhm.
So we went with a lighter ceiling when you're standing
Mhm.
like this. So that juxtaposition between the dark and the light. and the
That's the
pavers.
lower left up here.
Correct, that's this, and it's gonna be underneath
Underneath.
the overhangs and the covered porches.
Mhm.
What we tried to do with the layout of the house to break up the massing as well is create an H-shaped layout. So we had kind of the main living and dining area, which is right here, oriented toward both views. And then each of the rooms that we created have access to those views. We have a neighbor on this side here who's shielded by some young growth that's been planted by the previous owner up here. And then I'll let Jessica describe kind of how the landscaping is all tied. So this is the layout for the road. We're keeping it, pretty much the grading has been kept to what it was originally, so we didn't really have to change much because the location of the house is in a very similar spot to this.
And is this going to be a single parking space?
So this is meant to be a drive-through, and then there's spots here, kind of on the southwest side of it. The access coming up through here, and then the auto court with fire truck turnaround. The garage will be 1 foot above the house, and then all around the house like the grade. And we tried to select a spot where, in the initial submission that we did, we had 2,000 cubic yards of cut and no fill. Since we had submitted, we've updated it so that right now the current layout has 750 cubic yards of cut and 250 cubic yards of fill.
Do you have elevations for?
There should be,
Well, that's the landscape.
yeah, so this is the floor plan, this is a bigger floor plan with the 2 buildings shown. Below, floor plans, let me keep going. Roof plan,
That's the guest.
that's the
Garage.
so the garage, and then we have the changing room.
Right.
It's kind of an access to the back there. And these are the elevations of the house.
Would you be able to provide a general plate height and top of ridge height?
Yeah, so it's 1110 for plate height, but we're using an engineered structured truss roof, so that's to the top of the truss portion of
The
it.
effective plate.
Yeah, and then the total ridge height, I think is 20, it's on the next page. It's on the roof plan, I believe it's like 23 feet.
Okay, thanks.
And then just real quick on this, on the kind of like guest parking, that little, is it like you, I think that's page. L1, No, it isn't. It's just the preliminary grading plan. When you pull in, do you like just park that
Yeah,
way?
you park facing
Oh,
southwards.
okay,
Yeah, so this shows it.
so,
4 spaces.
Correct. I mean, we're just kind of, this is preliminary, so we haven't really
Okay.
gone through it in detail, but I'll let Jessica give you more information on the landscaping.
Do you have a grading plan?
We do the C sheet. Is up you go, one above the landscaping plan. This is the grading plan. And so this is right here, as you're coming up the track. The dash line's hard to see, but the dash line is the original grade, and then what they did in the.
Hey, Bethany and Cash, it's Brett Jones here. Can I interrupt real quick?
Sure.
Just a quick note that the project is not Hillside Ridgeline. We are in front of CBAR because of a tract map condition, not because we're Hillside Ridgeline. Just to want to clarify that.
Thank you, Brett.
Thank you, Brett.
Hello, I'm Jessica with Earthwood Design. Generally speaking, the site is primarily kind of grassland with some oak trees spotted throughout. Cash mentioned that there is existing screening up here. There's a series of oak trees and toy lawn that the previous owner had planted to start buffering to the neighbor. For our the intents and purposes, we have our driveway coming up, we're transitioning at this point as the grading eases and we get to a shallower grading gradient from asphalt to chip seal, with the drive courts being in a gravel paved permeable chip seal. We have our guest parking, like Cash said, here, so that we then come in on the axes to Grass Mountain for guests to visit the site and kind of experience the views. Generally speaking, the landscape, as we are on the edges, is ornamental grasses to fade into and transition to that existing pasture land. And then, excuse me, as we get into the main drive court, we have that same grasses with a native sage scrub. Then in and around the house, we have ornamental grasses of Ceslaria kind of bordering the entry path to the front door with Cosmocurcii, mainly trying to keep it lower water use, deer resistant. And then the trees we're proposing from a conceptual standpoint are Valley Oak, Platinum Strixmosa, and then with some Arctocephalus, Refugiensis as medium-sized trees or shrubs, and olives kind of spotted through. So low water use or endemic to the St. Anne's Valley. Yeah. But mainly transitioning to that, so that we have a nice transition to the pasture area.
You guys, is there any way, Bethany, can you kind of look at that, the main driveway court? Is it? Yeah. There's so much.
So much
Drive
paving.
court here, I know that, do you think you'll be storing cars, so you need all that space? Okay.
That was the plan, and then we're also trying to integrate the drive court in there, I mean, the fire truck turnaround, so that it's not, so we need it, we're minimizing it as much as possible to
Yeah,
fit the fire truck turnaround, and
yeah,
then also have.
having more cars and stuff, okay.
And that is a permeable drive surface.
Okay.
It's a gravel pave, and which makes the fire department's turnaround.
Yeah, those trees will help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That complete your.
That completes the presentation.
Okay, I just, what native meadow are you thinking of?
Grasses Pallets.
Just, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Grass.
Yeah, so where it shows as kind of lawn zone.
Oh, there it is,
we have
right,
grasses
sorry.
pallets, and then in the areas, as with the grading plan develops further,
Mhm.
in the areas that potentially are going to be disturbed on the driveway.
Mhm.
We're using Bulua seeds to kind of, again, transition into the native, the existing property and give kind of a clean massing with a non-aggressive grass.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other quick questions? Want to call for public comment, Teresa?
Let's see, there's no one in the audience yet, but let me check. And we do not have any public comment.
Board, who wants to jump in? Last item, come on. Group yourselves up.
No comment from Chris.
Okay, Chris is done. Andrew?
I think the site planning is nice and compact. I think the architectural character is simple and in some ways utilitarian. A couple nitpicky things. The top chords of the trusses aren't expressed, which seems a little odd and not tectonic to me, but you know. Normally you have a top chord to the truss.
This one has.
No, the
Oh, this
diagonal,
one here, right.
the diagonals underneath the roof.
This here. Oh, so that's a closed roof.
Right.
So there's no exposed rafters. The idea is kind of a wood ceiling, which is that material there, but then flares into kind of a modern detailing of a metal wrap.
Right.
And then closes it in. Yeah.
Understood. I think I'm trying to level with the metal wrap on something that my brain registers as wood.
Yeah,
When I look at the
yes,
elevation.
Yeah.
But in any case, when you squint at it, you see the square and you don't see
If
the
you-
triangle of the truss. Is that what I'm saying?
Actually.
It's okay, we don't need to, you know.
So that's the kind of look that it's going for. It's on the sheet too. We have some, and so that's kind of that look.
Okay.
The idea was to have like a floating kind of canopy there that protects from the sun and then also gives us that minimalist look, so we don't have to lot frame.
Understood.
Let me go ahead and make this comment then.
Yes.
Yeah, floating or not floating, usually you want to be able to trace it back to the thing that's supporting it. That's all I'm saying. And the metal chimney pipes are another thing that veers a little overly utilitarian in my eye, but that's, you know, personal taste stuff. So long story short, I think nice site planning, nice landscape palette and transition to the meadow. But I would just maybe look with a more fine tooth comb at some of these detailing things.
Sure, well, if Jessica, if there was, maybe you guys can't do it, but it seems like with that south elevation, is there any way to add trees and not block the view? or-
We had explored that and previously had,
It's just
played
weird.
around with like adding gateway trees and more
Yeah.
trees down here. But it really mitigated the view and the client asked us to remove it.
Yeah,
Honey, you should say about it.
yeah, there's always that battle.
There, I will say the house is not visible from the road, and it is, like, as you're driving up the campo, you cannot see that.
Mhm.
And all those trees are doing is blocking that view shed.
No,
And
even
not
if you
that
get a tree installed with a nice big canopy and you can see.
I know,
No.
we had proposed that.
Yeah.
and it-
Yeah, that was
it
my,
preference.
I really like the architecture and the planting. That was the only thing is I was concerned about shade, so, but.
I will say they've provided really lovely shade opportunities with the extension, the roof extensions. on
Oh,
the
yeah,
patios.
that's right. I like the water feature in the center too. Puck?
Sure. I think the site planning works really well with this site. And my only two comments really, maybe it's something, you know, that Andrew and I are obsessed about, but to me, there is this sort of subconscious dialogue you have in your head when you don't understand how things are being held together or held up. And so just getting back to that little gable detail, you know, you'll work it out, but, I think it just feels a little odd to me. And then, Jessica, the only thing, you know, this site is incredibly windy at many times of the year, and I just wonder about Platanus racemosa being a riparian native. They kind of go sideways after on those hilltops, but otherwise I love the plant palette and I support the project.
That was my only comment on
No,
landscaping as well, is the flatness is
Well, and
probably.
I would sneak it in anyway.
Yes. Since this had been submitted, it was an option and the client got back to us and said they had an allergy to the
Oh,
flatness, so.
Okay.
It's a, just so
It
you
grows
know.
so fast and big.
Okay,
That
Yeah.
all right, thanks, Puck.
Thank you.
Lowell?
I don't have any comments on.
No, does Alan, he's over there. Okay. I don't really have anything else to add. I was very glad to see that you're using some materials that are in fact lightning, because, this just seems really dark.
And this, we actually have taken these to the site. And
I
looked at it,
understand, but this is my comment.
Yeah, yes, please.
I was just pleased to see that you have some, means of lighting it up. We're gonna wanna see, actual lighting, and if there's any landscape lighting as well, we're gonna wanna see that. Obviously, we're looking for dark sky, compliant, but everything else seems to be a real interesting design. And then, yeah, that's it. I don't have anything else. How do we want to see the return?
Consent?
Preliminary,
Well, how about come back to us, preliminary?
Okay.
And then we'll
Wrap it up.
go from there, and then from there, you know, once that's their appealable action, that's the important one.
Is that when we could go for a preliminary, almost a final, like we can prepare the package?
You can't, okay, so let me give you my little spiel.
Sure, please.
Again?
Okay, yes, it's a
Sorry.
different one, Alan.
Oh, sorry.
Different one than one day. So here's the deal. Preliminary is your appealable action. Used to be, they didn't want us to combine final and preliminary. They loosened up, by they, I mean, the land use portion. We've made accommodations, and we can now ask for people to do preliminary and final, or say that you're able to do preliminary and final on the same thing. There's a caveat that goes with that. You can take it to preliminary level, and you can go ahead and do your final detailing, which in your case, it sounds like based on some of the questions, that's gonna be pretty critical. It might help with your preliminary, but if you go ahead and do all your final detailing and everything, and you come into us with both of that, and then we look at it and say, whoa, oh, we didn't realize this was happening because there wasn't sufficient detail or conceptual, and now that we've gone to preliminary, we're looking at this, and this just doesn't work. You're gonna have to, you've invested a lot of time and your client's money in those final details. Okay, so it's a caveat. You can do it, and I don't think any of us would have a problem with you doing it, but you run that risk.
Great.
That's the trade-off,
That's great. Awesome.
okay?
Thank you.
All right. And your planner would need to clear it for preliminary. So it's gotta jive, it's gotta run and whatever's happening. Okay?
Perfect. Thank you.
Bethany, excuse me, so did you change that to return for preliminary / final?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, anything else? How does everybody like the TV screen?
Much better.
Yeah.
I think it's a layout next time if
Yeah.
you're around the screen.
Like a,
Yeah,
Yes.
U-shape.
U-shape, yeah.
yeah, because instead of having
It's
you guys
far.
all way out there,
Yeah.
because we set these tables up.
Yeah.
Well,
That way.
correction, Teresa set up all these tables here. No. Okay, so, all right, so we'll do that for next time, and it allows us to have there.
Yeah.
Although Icebox was a
No, you
little
gotta turn it
much.
down.
It always usually
Better to
pretty
be
hot,
cold.
that was
Yeah.
tricky.
Better
Well,
be
she
cold
was
than hot.
putting her jacket, wrapping it around her body, and I went, okay, I'm done. Okay, then I'd like to make a motion to adjourn. Are we
How about the
gonna?
minutes?
I second.
Then go over the,
Oh, that's right, we gotta go over the minutes. I'm sorry, I gotta have a, sorry, Nicole.
We gotta go over the.
All right, I'm gonna quit screen sharing.
Thanks, Cash.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank
guys.
you.
Thanks, Jessica.
Carport is the nightmare.
Why?
It's so dirty.
So dirty? The inside or outside?
Inside.
This is-
Dust, it's a-
Can everybody read this?
No.
Two snakes were in here the other day.
Two snakes
Snakes?
were?
where do you live?
Salt Lake East.
There are a lot of
Sounds like
snakes
it
in
has a
Salt Lake?
gorgeous view.
Janet Acres.
Okay, so,
Danish
Nicole,
snakes.
Yes,
Good thing
I
that-
can hear you.
the board needs to do a little wordsmithing here so that Nicole's got what we actually said or intended. Right, story polls and site data provided the board with a lot of information and demonstrated the size of the development, suggest grading and lowering the structure into the site is supported by the planner. Now, that's kind of an inference based on what we said, is that what we wanna go with?
Can we add a specific number, since I said a specific number, as in
Okay, and also, and this is nothing against you, Nicole, because that's a good summation of what we said, but I'm not sure it's our intent.
Can we say consider instead of suggest, or?
Yeah, consider,
Bethany,
yeah,
you said you saw some skylining.
yeah.
Do you have any idea to what extent?
It was for that, I would say it was at least 6 feet, but it was kind of like just the peak kind of a thing. And I don't know how they're gonna interpret it.
Yeah.
It's not our finding. But considering grading to lower the structure, or how about, or parts of the structure.
that's why I said a specific number, since we're there.
Yeah, so that might help, to help alleviate specifically skylining. If supported by the planner, that might be a good way to put that. Okay. Okay, that should give the planner enough indication of what we were suggesting, and then also the applicant. So we're on the same page. Number 2, there was a lot of discussion about, that, but I think that accurately, that seems to.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
You want to go 2 and 3 together?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Redundant.
We could do that.
And it's not cement, it's concrete, I'm sorry, it's pet peeve. Cement is one of 3 items that are needed for concrete. My uncle was an architect and said, it's not cement.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'm sorry, I'm very false. You did say cement, because I went, I twitched.
I know that.
Okay, please devise a grading to show the gradual position, so, yeah, I think that does it.
On 3?
Foot changes.
You wanna add the word natural? to the more
Naturalize the
natural
grading.
Yeah.
A more natural grading.
Please revise the grading to, to replicate a more natural form.
Yeah.
Listen, a big drop off, naturally, it's a foot.
You know, you're my Jim
I'm
Beam.
sorry. Who's reading this stuff?
There we go. Thank you, Nicole. It's update the elevation to accurately show the slope changes / retaining walls. Or you say nearby retaining walls. Return physical colors material board, yeah. And then in parentheses, after number 5, please also submit, color board as part of PDF set. Because that way it's in there and we know we have it.
Okay.
Okay, next. All right. Depict location and site of specific proposed seed mix.
You guys spent a lot of time on it. Wow.
That's okay. It'll.
That's too much.
Okay. Okay, that was good for 4.
Typo thing.
Can we combine 1 and 3?
Yes, I was just gonna say that. You could just say on the end of 1 there, yeah.
Too bad luck to put it.
I think you could say instead of well, say better.
My mom told me.
Well, you just can't give them a break, can
Yeah, you tell me 4 hours.
That's my mom.
I'm okay with that. Everybody okay with the rest of that?
Yes.
Okay, 6. Can you tell somebody's hungry?
Yeah, that was the only thing I saw, was it strange that the main RV door wasn't in the center, but they had offset.
That's because they want to use it as a pool cabana.
I've traveled through the Midwest a lot. Tremendous.
Okay, so you make number 6, number 1.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
Well, you said he had storage above the shower door.
Well, that makes sense.
Right next to the pool.
That's the one where the pool will never get used.
Right, exactly. It's too far away.
Yeah, ever.
Yeah, usually they don't want their RV in the middle too.
So-
They never use it.
Guys,
That's true.
okay, so provide information on the adjacent structure that's under construction, so the C-bar. And I think the information we're looking for is color, material, and detailing information on the adjacent structure.
Well, from the original project, it has to be sitting around somewhere, right?
Just, hold on.
Everybody calm down.
Just to match. It's just gonna match.
Yeah. Well, it's not, Puck, because they're gonna use tube steel and they're gonna use some other things, and I suspect. Oh,
He said painted the same color.
The color can match, but the material.
I think the color's the same though, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter if he uses wood or steel, does it?
No.
The color.
It depends on how, the styling is, also.
Well, he said he had 4x6 raptor tails on.
Yeah, but he has that shed on lean-to post over the barbecue area that everybody's so jealous of. And, I have no idea whether that's actually the form of the building. Because, you know, so between form, therefore detailing, and the materials, yeah, the colors might match, but they could be two really different styles.
Well, then we should have compared it to the house that we approved.
That's why we're
That's
asking
what
for
we're
the
asking,
house
yeah.
information, so that we can see if they.
This is
right.
That's a.
Yeah, so that's why that's the first comment. I had to move it to now, just the first comment, because that is the single most, to me anyway, that's the single most important note on this whole item. And then everything else, two is, I think two,
What is number two mean? Materiality of the steel.
that was, hold on a second, 2 and 4 could follow, could be changed to something along the lines of,
That was your fault, Alan. Two?
no,
It was?
2 and
You didn't have
2
a
and
two
4 could
steel.
be taken out, and then,
Yeah, I thought he said tube steel.
BAR needs
What's the
more.
materiality?
You guys, I'm having a hard time understanding Destiny.
Sorry.
Okay, so, yeah, you can take that text out there, but leave the number 2.
The troops are restless.
Sorry, Nicole, we're just arguing like children over here.
Okay, so, the BAR needs more information in how the proposed design is in keeping with the, structure under construction.
We're talking about the
main house.
you're talking about the main house now,
Yes.
or, okay?
And then I think you can get rid of number 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's basically what we want. We want, we want to know what the structure is gonna look like that they're building, that's permitted, and we want to know how these proposed structures look like it and work with it. 3 is really, why did you jack up the building so that you could put the hugest garage door under the lowest roof?
There's a couple of reasons for that.
Oh, I know there's reasons for it, but that's essentially what that's about,
It
right?
looks
Yeah,
funny.
I'd literally rather see 2 RV garage doors. It
would
would
feel
look
more
better.
normal.
yeah.
Okay,
But
most, he's putting storage on there, and most people don't use the RV as often, so they don't want it in the center of their garage.
Yeah, but I agree
get
with
that,
having
yeah.
2 RV doors and not those little funny windows above it.
it looks like a laundry run.
For light. That's what he
Yeah,
said.
but we can't design this.
Number 4, I think you could say, you can take out concerned about and you say string lights are not compliant with dark sky requirements.
You can have an outdoor shower with just drain it.
Reconsider lighting for the dining area.
May I ask a question?
Yeah,
They're just putting in, if I remember correctly, an electrical outlet, right?
yeah.
They're gonna go it up anyway.
There's
Right,
just
so,
full comment on the string lights and just say you're adding an outdoor outlet.
they're gonna do what they wanna do anyway.
Right.
Yeah, I think everything else, except for, I was the one who basically said number 5, and I'm not married to it. Does anybody else have that viewpoint, or should we just axe it?
I'm fine with axing it.
Okay, take number 5 out.
We'll get back to it when
Yeah.
we come back with the lighting. plan.
Okay,
Hmm.
okay, that looks good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we could say, we appreciate the alternate driveway access route. It is much preferred over the prior driveway.
Lowell, what do you guess that driveway
That
cost?
I
had
don't know how long it is. a lot.
300,000?
numerous tree
Made out
removals,
of cement.
and large
Concrete.
quantities of grading.
That has to hold a fire truck.
Yeah, that's what I thought so too.
And then take
So
out the
that's
rest.
9 inches, right, Pete?
Guys, focus.
We could do asphalt, right? Concrete driveway. that-
First of all, what do you think of the comment as structured there?
What number are you on?
Number one,
Yeah, you like it.
okay?
Makes sense.
You can also make a lot shorter driveway route should be built to,
200.
not to, I don't know. I don't know what we're trying to say with number one, that we appreciate that they're giving alternatives to safety.
It's the carport, number 5. It's a carport, right? Not a garage?
It's a carport, and I would suggest dropping the first half of that. Just saying, look at ways to reduce height of
Yeah, I agree with that.
carport.
That's a good point.
Yes.
A little dramatized.
So you were feeling the carport was too dominant looking or?
Because it was higher.
It's higher than everything else proposed, which is.
You could just say to reduce the height, or I think you said something about stepping it,
Or
or
the grading or whatever, yeah.
I think you could just say, look at ways to reduce the height of the carport.
Yeah, short and sweet.
Like convertible cars.
How much do you think it'll cost?
Okay.
to build this,
This house?
I think we're done with that, okay? The
Yeah,
top-
Bethany, you had a comment on this
Yeah.
one that I didn't quite catch, which is what number 3 is about.
Okay,
Not including the driveway, just that.
all right, I'll get to that in a second. Andrew, your comment is about the number 1.
Yeah, I would change that note if you could to something like. Consider a refinement of the truss design.
For the covered patios?
Yeah,
Should we be, can you, not being funny, can you be more specific to try to help them out?
and make it look like a truss for one.
Okay, I'm sure, I'm dead serious.
Yeah, I don't know.
Uh,
That's the best I could do to, you know,
I think that what he's got there, consider refinement of the truss design for the covered patio
Okay.
is probably sufficient, but I understand.
I don't
what you're-
wanna design for that.
Well, as soon as you say they can't do something, we're designing it for them, but I understand, but being as specific as we can, I think is really helpful to people.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Okay,
I understand the change.
so, after landscape right there, you can say if proposed. Now, number 3 is, so you could say that, given the overall, fairly dark palette, comma, pleased, to see lighter materials incorporated under eaves and other places on the structure. And that was mostly my comment, but is everybody else, did anybody have any objection to that, or do you want to
No.
strike it, or it's cool? Okay.
We will demur to you.
What's that?
I said, we will demur to you.
Defer?
Also.
You're not demurring. Okay, I think that's cool.
On number 2, do you want to say anything about dark sky? That they
Yes,
comply with dark sky?
Yep.
I was just gonna say that, and it's needs to be
Thanks, Bud.
specific.
Well, it's fairly dark, yeah.
You guys are kind of out of control today.
It's a little weird in here.
Because we miss you.
We should be in New York.
Yeah, exactly.
All right,
Much
so
more
I
civilized.
would like to, move, do we adjourn?
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Thanks, Bud.
Have a good,
Bye.
have a good
Bye.
trip.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thanks, Nicole.
Thank you.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Thanks for everybody putting